And to that piece of lieutenant that's always on his podcast, bashing us, yeah.
Attention, roll call.
That's right, everybody. Good morning. 8:05 live Eastern time. And of course, we got the mad chatter here already. Good morning. Hassan's all over the comments, and he's actually made some friends and dragged some people into it. So Eddie West, good morning. I see that you teamed up with Hassan, the mad chatter. So it's gonna be two of them. Anyway, we're talking about the state of morale in the NYPD. So I think to talk about the state of morale in the NYPD, we have to actually examine and just briefly say to ourselves, what is morale? So just on a basic definition or an ideological aspect of morale, it's based on a group of people and it's their emotional, psychological well-being. How do they feel about their organization? And typically one of the most important things that comes to morale is how confident are they in their leadership? And I think that's really the key factor that mostly affects morale in the NYPD, and especially now with this administration, while Eric Adams is still the mayor of New York City. And I think morale there's numerous aspects that affect it, but I think that's the number one reason is the state of leadership and how does an organization just like the NYPD, how do they feel supported by their leadership? Do they have confidence in their leadership? And those two key factors, those two flashpoints affect morale. What are your thoughts on morale? I'm sure this is something we could talk about for weeks.
Oh man, yeah. I think when you're part of a team and you feel part of a team and you feel supported and you believe in the mission, I think it's real easy to put a lot of things aside. I think it's real easy to not really focus on the money, to not focus on, the effort that you have to put in, the time away from your family, the days that you don't get off, the massive amount of overtime that you're receiving. And, for years, for like these past 4 years, all we hear from unions and from leadership is like, oh, the cops care about the money, and it's like, it's such a false narrative. It really is. It's such a false narrative that cops are yeah, does everybody want more money? Absolutely, everybody wants more money, but that's not the thing that keeps people. That's not the thing that attracts people. That's not what makes people want to go into policing. I talked to a kid yesterday, 10 years on the job, a little bit over 10 years on the job. He's making $200,000 a year. I mean, 5 years ago, if you would have had a regular PO saying he's making $200,000 a year, nobody was coming close to that money. You had guys, crushing overtime, not even coming close to 150. And he literally, I had to talk him off vesting out. You know what I mean? This kid, he wants to leave. He's like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm like, well, what are you planning on doing though? Like, what do you have lined up? He's like, well, I don't have anything lined up. And I'm like, well, why would you leave, dude? He's like, I'm never home. I never see my family. I never know what I'm doing at work. I'm all over the city. I'm going to the Bronx one day. I'm in Manhattan another day. My tours are constantly getting changed around and I'm just miserable. And, and as much as people sit here and say like, oh yeah, we hate the job. We do this, we do that. You know how many people I've talked out of vesting? Like, I can't even tell, like countless people. I'm like, well, why don't you figure out what you're going to do first? Why don't you use the resources available? Go to the free John Jay classes that they offer. Go to the free college courses that the NYPD offer. Why don't you just put your head down and think about it? Well, hey, look, I'm only doing this for the next 7 years, 8 years. And, understand, like, start over. Just pretend you're a rookie, And then, to me, I think that, morale it's so bad. I think it's at its lowest point. I honestly, I always say I don't think it could get worse. Obviously, things could always get worse, but I think, while Jessica Tisch and Eric Adams are patting themselves on the back for historic lows in crime that even they don't believe, what we could really say is we're at historic lows in morale in the NYPD.
Yeah, I think the other factor I think that's huge is that discipline is politically driven right now with the NYPD. It's not fair. There's no due process, and there's a tier process. I've said that quite often. I've been saying that for about 3 years right now. There's 3 separate tiers within the NYPD. And that's tier one is the upper echelon, the chiefs, mostly 2 and 3 stars, 1 stars, and they're taken care of because they're in that group. Excuse me. And then you have tier two. That's, cops or any rank and file or anyone that's tied by nepotism or cronyism, and they're taken care of. But then there's tier three. That's your general population. That's your everyday normal person working the NYPD. Could be a cop, could be a lieutenant, and you're part of general population. You don't have ties by nepotism. And discipline, the arm of the disciplinary matrix from the job, comes down a lot harder. And cops have really suffered by it. And I talk about cops, I mean cops, sergeants, lieutenants, rank and file. They have really suffered by the discipline process, the fact that there's no due process, the fact that it's not fair, the fact that some people just walk on water, and some people, for the most minor infractions, the arm comes down on them. So how does that make someone feel, or an organization feel? That makes them feel devalued. They don't feel value in themselves. They don't feel there's honor in the mission. They don't feel that there's actually vision in the mission. Clearly, they don't feel support from their leadership. How could you feel any support for your leadership? So that's why I've been saying for the past couple of weeks that morale is like this ball. And when it comes down to it's what's inside that ball. It's your emotional feeling about your organization, your psychological feelings. And if all that's good, if you feel supported, it doesn't even have to be the best organization. It doesn't even have to be the best product. But the point to that is that it's how you feel, right? And if you feel good about it because the camaraderie is good and everyone's on board and you feel support, you feel valued, you feel like you have a purpose, right? In order, especially for men, and I'm sure women too, but especially for men, I read a book called Halftime one time, and it talks about men need significance and purpose. So if you're a cop, you need significance and purpose to feel valued. So if this ball is strong, the external factors, if salary is low, that won't penetrate and bother you. If the conditions of the precincts are not good, if the cars aren't good, and even if the tour changes and if there is excessive overtime, that wouldn't bother you if that ball was strong. But because it's so weak right now, it's penetratable. So that's where I see a lot of faults. And unfortunately, salary is probably the best it's ever been. I mean, I think you brought up a great point. Cops are making, are they rich? No, but they're making substantial salaries that they could have a nice life with their families. They could be very comfortable. Their bills are being paid. There's really no worries. But they can't even enjoy it. They're at work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They don't know which way's up. They don't know which way's down. They don't know if they're going to be the next viral video out there with a 10-second clip or something that happened at work. They're terrified because those body cameras, CCRB is always something that's in the back of their head. They have extreme amount of oversight that's just not fair, especially if they're general population. So all these factors are constantly playing in their head while they're trying to also have mission and vision on their actual job. So I think it's an impossible job to be happy. How could you be happy? You got all these factors. You can't even think about the mission on hand. You can't even think about an actual perpetrator, an adversary that you're dealing with. And you have all these factors in your head that you have to think about. They can't even think normal. Hesitation is a major part of their day. It's an impossible job.
No, and again, Mikey G says morale in the NYPD has never been good. I totally disagree with that. I walked onto the job with Tuesday, Wednesday off, 6 to 2 at night, sometimes 8 to 4 at night. I mean, I'm a young guy. I like going out. I was always going out to bars and lounges, really into women, and like all that kind of ceased and as soon as I got on the job. All that kind of stopped. It was like this whole transition into policing and to like being part of this police culture, and I loved it, man. I think I had Tuesday, Wednesday off for a long time, bro. Like a year or two, and I never even thought about it. But by the time I realized that I had Tuesday, Wednesday off, I was getting changed out of that schedule. You know what I mean? By the time I realized what was happening, because I really looked forward to going to work. I was learning so much. I was seeing things I never saw. I was doing things I've never done. And, and I was like, and then getting into like even patrol where it's like, all right, now I'm with these older guys, and I'm in a slower command now, and like I still don't know anything, so I'm still learning, and I'm doing midnights, and I have this rotating days off. And again, like, those factors bothered me. Like, oh wow, everybody's out right now. I wish I was out. Everybody's down the Jersey Shore. I'm not down the Jersey Shore. Like, those little things bothered me, but they were so minuscule in my head because I was having so much fun and I was learning so much, and I just understood that I was on a different path. So I've never, now I'm hearing guys that have weekends off that are making 200,000 a year. Some of them making $300,000 a year. And they're saying, I'm miserable. I can't get to the next day. I don't even know if I could go forward, where I could never envision that. I could never envision that. Like, even if it wasn't for COVID, like there was never that in my head that I was leaving the job. There was never, I need to get to 20 so I could get out. And I think for most of my friends, it was like that. I think everybody I knew. And now, like, all the guys I came out with, they were all retired. And like, I don't know any of them that wanted to leave at 20. And I'm like, it really shows like the state of morale. Now, was there always bull crap that we dealt with? Inspections, IB, idiot sergeants, idiot lieutenants, idiot XOs, idiot captains. Yeah, but they were few and far between. It wasn't everybody. Like, a lot of guys you respected, a lot of sergeants you respected and liked. Maybe they weren't nice guys, but you respected and liked them. Same thing for the lieutenants. Same thing for the captains. You ran across, but everybody knew who the weirdos were, and you laughed it off. Like, oh, this idiot grabbed me, and he was like telling me whatever. Like I don't know, man. I don't think you could even ever say that it's anywhere near the same because, and again, like, we talked about it the other day. Like, you could say whatever you want about the Adams administration. The marker on morale is always going to be you've had an inordinate amount of cops vest out, which is retire early or resign under this administration. That and I'm talking of levels that have never happened, unprecedented levels in the NYPD, and that is the barometer for morale. And so, like, we've never seen lieutenants vest out. You've never seen captains leave early. You've never seen inspectors and chiefs leave before they hit 20. It just never happened. It didn't happen. You didn't see lieutenants with 16, 17, 18 years on leave the job. You didn't see sergeants with that time on leave the job. Maybe once in a blue, the guy got like some crazy offer somewhere, or they hit the Mega Millions. You know what I mean? I remember the kid that hit the Mega Millions. You remember that? Like, he left at like, I think he left at 13 years, and he was vesting out, and everybody was like, he didn't tell anybody he hit the Mega Millions. He hit, I think he hit like $400 or $500 million. He didn't tell anybody, but he was a nice guy. Everybody liked him. He was like a positive, upbeat guy, and he's like, I'm vesting out. And it was like the biggest thing on the job. They're like, he must have got picked up by the feds. He must be doing something wrong. There's no way people don't leave this job at this time. There's no way. And he was telling people at the time that he got head of security for Visa, and he was going to make like $400,000 a year and be driven to work.
You're talking about Juanita Holmes.
Yeah, he said like this crazy stuff was like, and even at that point, people were like, yeah, well, you don't know, bro. You lose that job security, you're giving up that pension, your pension's going to go down. And it was like crazy to think that somebody would leave a job where he was probably making 100,000 to make 4 times more and like have a better quality of life. It was crazy at that time. Like, you're vesting out. Now people are vesting, and everyone's like, hey, good luck to you. And it's like, dude, like, what happened? What happened? There's only one thing: morale's in the toilet. It's in the toilet.
I think so. That's a huge key fact. That's a big flashpoint. Lady brought that up. So longevity. I think longevity is a great metric of measure of the state of morale for an organization, right? If you decide to go back into law enforcement, or any of us decide to go back into law enforcement, and you join the police department, let's say somewhere in Florida, you walked in and everyone was new and there was no veterans on the job, you would say to yourself, I mean, at least for me, I would say, there might be a problem here. For me, that would be a red flag. And I in retirement, one of those metrics I use in retirement, I go school to school doing jujitsu. I travel by RV and I go school to school, or overseas. I went school to school in Brazil and Thailand, Malaysia and Bali, and same thing in the States, training jujitsu and MMA. And when I go into a gym, and I see that everyone's if I go to a gym and I see that everyone is a brand new white belt and there's no one there that has longevity, to me, that's a red flag. Usually there's a problem with the instructors or the training or the school. And for the most part, that's usually the case. But when I look around and I see most of the guys are high belts, or there's a good mixture, there's high belts and there's people that are new also, then I know that's probably a good school. That's people that stay around. And it's the same thing for the NYPD. If you're a brand new cop and you go into the NYPD, you look around, and majority of the job right now has less than 5 years. You look around, there's no one that's staying past 5 years. There's no veterans on the job. That should be a red flag. Like, wait a minute, what's going on? Why isn't anybody here for the long term? So to me, the wheels would be going in my head like, there must be a problem here. To me, that's a huge factor, longevity. That's important. Do people stick around? I mean, I even say it sometimes if I go to a restaurant. I don't know, John, if you ever do this yourself. And next time, if you go to a restaurant, or if anyone's really into going out to eat, I love it. Just think about this. You ever go out to eat and you have like great service? And when you have great service, like you get like that old lady who's your waitress, or an old man, and they're just so good at it. You're like, these people have been doing this forever. Like, they're just really good at it. The service is great. And then the manager comes over, hey, how's your meal? And everyone just, you can see the manager treats their employees well, and everyone's happy. And it's just a restaurant. I've been restaurants like that before. Like, how long you work here? And someone's there 20 years. You'd have people at 25 years in a restaurant. You're like, wow, those people are staying there. So you know that's a good place. It's ran well. The morale's good there. They're not going anywhere. And that's just a restaurant. They're staying there for 20 years because they're happy. They feel valued. The managers, the leadership of that restaurant treats them good. So these people aren't going anywhere. And it all affects the way they treat you, right? You're the customer. It affects the way they treat you. It goes for policing too, right? If the cops feel valued, well, they're going to have a good relationship with the public also because their leadership is good. So it all affects each other. So I just want to say good morning to the chat, by the way. Some great engagement here. Joseph Quinones, morning, brother. Reed, Amazing Ant, Joe Mango, Hassan, Eddie West. Just want to thank you guys for always being here. Really appreciate it. But Reed says here, my opinion, 12-hour tour is too much. 10 hours should be the limit. So here's my opinion on that. I don't think time matters. I think time is very subjective, right? Because we do the podcast, and sometimes me and John laugh like, oh, shit, we did this for 4 hours. And I don't even realize we're having a good time. I'm enjoying it. I don't realize what the time is. And I'm not in a comfortable chair either. But because we're enjoying it, we're enjoying the conversation, right? And before you know it, the 4 hours is up. But if it was terrible, if I didn't enjoy it, it would be a long 4 hours. And I think the same thing goes for the NYPD. If the 12 hours you have significance, purpose, you feel great, you don't care. When I was brand new, I don't know if you've ever felt the same way, John. I remember my first partner, James Valachi. We used to always talk. We used to laugh. If we didn't bring the car back, we were sector Mike. Like, if we didn't bring the car back, like, how many hours would it take till they realized that we didn't go back yet? Like, we were willing to work 20 hours because we felt great. We felt supported. It was a good mission. I think 12 hours is daunting right now because they're exhausted. There's no mission. There's no vision. They have all the stuff on their back to think about. So 12 hours is a long tour right now compared to before.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I know, like, I would work a 6 to 2 most of my career, like 6 at night, 2 in the morning. If something popped off, I was staying. I didn't care. If, like, my sergeant was like, I'm not approving overtime. I didn't care. Like, I'm like, all right, well, if I get the guy, right? Oh, okay. If you get the guy, okay. And then we would stay, And like sometimes he would be like, dude, you guys got to come in. You got no supervision. Like, that's it. You got to go. Like, I'm going home. Like, and it was the same thing. We believed in the mission. Like, were we making a lot of money at that time? No. I mean, like, we were barely cracking $100,000 and we were working all the time. We weren't making a lot of money at all. And so, yeah, I totally, like, I think there's a lot of things with that. And, you talk about a restaurant. I got a chance, like, to travel around a lot in the NYPD. I got, like, a really good look at almost every precinct, every command. It really, really, really was a blessing, like, to like get to go over to building maintenance, and then I was able to, like, get a whole vision of the entire department and, like, how it operated. And even at that time, like, it's 2 terms into Bill de Blasio, but you go to these commands and you could just tell, these people have been there forever. Like, the girl on the TS got 30 years on. You know what I mean? She's real salty. The sergeant at the desk got a piano key on. And then, like, some commands you'd go to, and it wasn't like that. It was all new people. right? And you could tell, you know what, this probably isn't a place where people feel like they want to stay for a long time. But you went in some commands, and it was like, it wasn't like you were going to a police precinct. It was like you were going to a family, right? You were going to like this family that was together for years and years and years. And honestly, the community felt that way too, right? And that's what we lost in the New York City Police Department. You know, I think like they've put so much emphasis on hiring new people that they just trash everybody that's working. Like everybody that's working, they don't care about. It's like, no, we'll just replace you. You're easily replaceable. So we'll just keep we'll just keep getting people in that we don't have to pay as much as you. They don't have as great of benefits as you. And when they leave, we'll just replace them too. But what you're really taking out is the human element of policing. You're taking out people with knowledge of those precincts, right? Of how that area works, who lives where, the business owners, who the bad people are. And so people are walking around like, you have cops out there, they have no idea anything about that command. They don't know the crime numbers because does anybody know the crime numbers at this point? I mean, I don't even think 1PP knows them. They're not even taking the reports properly, you know? So like no one knows the crime numbers, but they don't know the patterns. They don't know the bad guys. They don't know the business owners. They don't know who lives where. They don't know who parks where. They don't know. And like, how could you possibly be an effective police officer if you don't know who lives where, the travel patterns, the traffic times, what's normal in that precinct, what's not normal? And so we're really like policing at this point blindfolded with really an inept function of patrol. And it's not the people's fault that are doing patrol. It's the job's fault for not giving them time to grow into those roles and not keeping experienced people in there to teach them about that command and how that's going and how to be a cop and how to be effective. So I really blame the job. I blame the leadership of the job more than I blame anybody that's in the NYPD right now. Like that thing that happened in Melba, Queens the other night. Like, how in God's name would you take that report as a misdemeanor? I mean, like, I don't care if I was a cop and a chief was telling me you're gonna. I would be like, I am not putting this down as a misdemeanor. You are out of your mind. This is gonna be on the news. I'll do it. I'll do it, chief.
Yeah.
I'll do it. It's gonna be as per you. I'm just letting you know. It's gonna be as per you.
And I'm keeping copies.
You want me to do that? Oh no. Oh, okay. Like, there's no way I would have did that. And the reason I wouldn't have did that is because I know that would have been an issue. I know my city council person's going to go nuts about it. I know it's going to be on the news. I know those residents are going to be in an uproar. Why do I know that? Because I've experienced it. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. You know what I mean? And so like we're losing all that, you know? We're really losing like and that's happening not even just on patrol. It's happening in the detective squads. It's happening in the units, and you hear everyone talking about this, like that, how everything's just different now and everybody wants to leave. And it's people that tell me, and they still love the job. You know, they still love the job. I'm telling you, it's like I could recall just last week the conversations I've had with people where they're like, dude, everything you guys are saying is right. Literally everything, but everything the job is saying is like that you guys are out of your mind and you're lying. And I'm going to work every day and I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like, I'm living in an alternate reality of what's really happening.
Well, that's why I think that manpower is actually important when we talk about morale, because this all works. This all comes into play. By the way, Hassan, you're hilarious. Hassan's actually distracted me. He's off the hook, man. Hassan is like, you know, Hassan is our friend, but he's also our troll at the same time. But I think that manpower, when it's so low, that it really affects morale. And for the obvious reasons, there is more people leaving the job than retiring. So if you're a young cop and you come out of the academy and you get on the job and you look around and everyone's leaving, well, I think these things it's kind of like a disease, right? They spread. It's an epidemic for the NYPD. And you say to yourself, well, if everyone else is leaving, especially if a guy with 5 years on the job, he's already invested about 5 years, and he's already got 1 foot out the door, and you're brand new right out of the academy. No one's saying how great this job is. You got to make it to 20, and everyone's looking for the next best thing. Well, it's going to spread to you also. You're brand new, and you say to yourself, well, what should I do here? I guess I should go too, right? there's not that many cops with 18 years on the job to say, hey, listen, you're going to go through these bumps and bruises and you might as well stay. And here's why things are going to get better. But you don't have anyone like that. You don't have those veteran cops. And especially even when morale was good, you didn't have any more cops with 18 years on the job actually doing patrol. There was a time where cops had pride in just doing uniform patrol. And I think there's a lot of pride in that. I think it's a beautiful thing. And unfortunately, most people left patrol and didn't stay there for longevity. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people look down on cops that would do patrol with 18, 19 years on the job. And I think there's nothing wrong. I think it's a great thing. It's a beautiful thing. There's a seat for every ass on the job. And if that's what you want to do, God bless. And so you're brand new, you're out of the academy, and you don't see these guys with 18 years on the job. You don't, especially on patrol, right? That's your first perception of the job. That's your first projection. Is you're brand new, you're in the precinct, and you're looking on patrol, and there's no one there with more than 10 years on the job. The most senior person has 5 years. They're miserable already, and it's already spreading to you. You're brand new. No one's telling you, hey, this is a great job and what to look forward to. They're telling you to look for another law enforcement profession. Why? Because the manpower is so low. They're so exhausted. They're burning the candle on both ends. They're doing so much overtime. They're never home. And then when they're at work, things are miserable. I mean, we used to say, John, I don't know if they would say the same thing to you, but we used to say when things suck at home, they're great at work. When things are bad at home, things are bad at work, things are good at home. So you would have that kind of balance to center yourself. And I don't think they have that anymore. Things for cops, it's terrible at work. And I think that transposes to what's going on at home. And so it's a battle. You know, your wife or your husband, your significant other is saying, hey, you're never home. You know, you're literally absent. You're an absentee father. You're an absentee mother. You're an absentee son, absentee daughter. You're not around. You're constantly working. And when you're at this job, you're miserable. The manpower is so low right now. And the fact that they are denying it and lying to the public means they're lying to the cops, saying that there's 34,000. It's impossible there's 34,000. We know the numbers. Supposedly it was 34,000 when I left in September of 2022. And there's more people leaving than joining. And you look around, you're a cop, you're on the job, like everyone's leaving, everyone's out the door. Why should I stay? And the morale is terrible. And no one's happy. You're showing up, you're working a 4 to 12, you're there till 4 or 5 in the morning because the manpower is so low, and then you get notified right there and then that you have to be back in a couple hours. They're lacking sleep, and sleep is very important for your emotional well-being. We talk about mental health. When your sleep starts to deteriorate, everything else deteriorates. Your physical health starts to get impacted from it. The way you feel about yourself, they start to gain weight. The stress levels are increasing because you're not getting proper sleep. And it's affects morale on a whole level. And that's really what this comes down to. What is morale? Morale is the way that people feel. And what is impacted? Why do they feel devalued? Why do they feel because they don't have support from their leadership. And they're allowing the leadership is pandering to the public. I'm sorry, the leadership is pandering to the politicians, playing politics and using the cops as political pawns. And we see it, just as that incident in Melbourne. If your document that is misdemeanors, there's no way that you can lay down at night on your pillow and look up and say, wow, I did the right thing today. You know damn well there's all those felonies going on there. And think about all the steps and everyone that has to be involved for a crime like that to actually be documented as a misdemeanor. And that takes a toll on everyone's psyche because they know damn well they're doing the wrong thing.
No, yeah, it's like it. So beauty in the struggle too says, John, are you saying Tuesday, Wednesday off is good? What? No, Tuesday, Wednesday off is horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous. It's like if you had to pick days off, like I guess Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday suck, and oh yeah, by the way, you're not going to sleep at night either. I like to sleep at night. It's weird. I like to go to bed at night. I like to wake up in the morning. So I wasn't doing either of those things, right? I didn't have off when everyone else in the world had off, and I wasn't sleeping when everyone else was sleeping, and I still loved going to work every day. That's what I'm saying is because, and I wasn't making a lot of money. Why I love going to work? Because I believed in the mission. I felt like I was part of a team. I felt like there was a room for me to grow. I felt like I could do a lot of things in my career. And I didn't know anybody. My mother was a school crossing guard. She passed away when I was 19. She was a school crossing guard in the 62nd precinct. And so like she knew some cops there then, obviously, but like I didn't really know them. I wasn't like embedded in the police culture. My family really didn't like cops, so I never knew any cops really, like personally, other than when my sister started dating a cop and then eventually got married. But still, even with that, he was older than me. I never was like embedded in the culture with him. I was in a totally different culture, right? And so, but I still like me coming in not knowing anybody. I felt like I could become the chief of the department. I felt like I could do anything I wanted. I walked into the precinct day one. I saw the crime guys. I'm like, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. And you know, and to be fair, I busted my ass to get there, right? I busted my ass. I made myself stand out. I left no doubt that I was the guy that could get pickup arrest. I was the guy that could solve those patterns. And it like did I get passed over a few times for anti-crime? Oh, absolutely I did. Did people get put in there before me that had no business going in there? Yeah, absolutely. So what? Were people there that didn't deserve to be there? Yeah. So what? But eventually I got there. And then I wanted to become a boss. I became a boss. Maybe I didn't get retained and go right to the squad and all this other stuff, but it is what it is. I was still a sergeant. I still made the same money as them. And again, I still had to prove myself, and I proved myself again, right? There were sergeants walking around doing nothing, and I was doing all the work. But I proved myself, and eventually I got to doing where I could do what I want. I have my own plainclothes team. I can make my own hours. And so like I personally think you could do whatever you want, right? I think that like if I whatever I wanted to do in that job, I didn't need a hook to do it. I could have willed my way into doing it. And I still, by the way, with all the nepotism that's high, maybe you're not going to get a promotion to deputy inspector. Maybe you're not going to get a detective shield. Maybe you're not going to get second grade, or you're not going to get first grade. But you could will your way to places that you want to be. I truly believe that, and you're going to do that through your hard work. If you have a goal and you set it on that job, you just because at the bottom line is this: there's so many idiots in the police department. Like there's so many people that don't deserve to be there. There's so many people that are on a pedestal that are first grade detectives for driving people, for doing absolutely nothing with 5 collars or whatever. That like it's not hard for you to stand out in the New York City Police Department. It's really not hard. If you're just a normal person and you actually want to do your job and you actually care, you're going to be light years ahead of everybody else. You're going to be in the less than 1% range. And you're going to stand out to literally everyone. Your sergeant, your lieutenant, your CO, your XO, the borough commander. Literally everyone's going to look at paper and be like, "Who the hell is this guy? Who is that girl? Who is she?" All right. Now when they run it, "Oh, that's you. Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you." You know what I mean? And I mean, unless there's and so like that's what I'm saying is like as bad as it is, as low as your morale is, I'm not sitting there telling anyone that, oh, stay on that job because it's the only hope you have. Absolutely not. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying like it's a great it's when you look at the money that's involved, if you look at the pension, if you look at your health benefits. Again, I left early. I was paying $20,000 a year for health benefits. That is a big amount of money to make up. I lost $200,000 a year, and now I'm paying 20. So now I'm in the hole $220,000 a year every year to live. I have 2 kids. One of them's disabled, requires all this other special stuff that I pay for out of pocket. Doesn't so like forget about it. The amount of money I put out just in healthcare. So my thing is this: it's a bad time right now, but things pass. Times change, right? You got Zohran Mondani walking in. I already heard a lot of his appointments. Are they competent people? Not really. Are they people that you're going to be like, oh wow, I'm gonna lead, I'm gonna follow that guy? No, he's going to appoint people. You're going to see a lot of nepotism. He's going to appoint people you wouldn't follow into a candy store. Like it just is what it is. But like you don't know what the job's going to be in 3 months. You don't know what it's going to be in 6 months. But if you have a goal to get where you got to get, keep that goal in mind and do it and keep working. You know, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying if you're going to leave a job like the NYPD where you're going to be afforded a 20-year pension, who has a pension today? You know, I could cry all day long that my pension should be bigger. Eric could cry all day long that his pension should be bigger. Who the hell has what we have? I retired at 41 years old. I retired at 41 years old, and I make a lot of money, and I have health benefits, and I'm able to come out on this podcast and talk a lot of shit, and I'm able to tell everyone, F you, I'll say what I want to say. right? Who has that at 41 years old? The average person today in America isn't even buying a house until they're 40. My house was almost paid off by the time I was 40, thanks to the New York City Police Department. Policing for people like us, for middle class, poor people who are coming up, I mean, it is a great transfer of wealth for you. It will bring you from low income to upper middle class, right? I'm like, that to me is something you should hold on to. That to me is not something you should walk away from easily. And it's not, and I take it back when I say policing, I'm talking specifically the NYPD. I'm talking specifically the NYPD because I could think of department after department after department that I know that people work in, and they don't offer anywhere near the amount of benefits at the NYPD office. The guys in Florida, they have to pay their own health care when they leave. That's why you see these sheriffs with 70 years old on the job. I mean, like, so that's what I'm saying. I'm not sitting there telling you kill yourself. Like, if that's the case, leave the NYPD. What I'm saying is think about what you have. Think about those benefits. How do I get out of there? And by the way, you have 7 years left. You have 8 years left. It's going to go like this. It's temporary. That's what I'm telling you. Get out of your own head. Think about what you have.
So that's exactly what we've been talking about, right? We're talking about that veteran apparatus that pretty much is like mentorship for young cops on the job to say, hey, this job is a pendulum. Things go up and down. I mean, they don't have that. They don't have that veteran apparatus right now. That's why I feel sorry for those young cops. They don't have guys with 15 years on the job to say, hey, listen, I've been through the ringer on this job and things go up and and it will get better. But at the end of the road, at 20 years, you have a nice pension. And you're right. I got to retire. Same thing. January, I'm going to be 46 years old. And I retired September 2022. And I was, at the age of 42 years old, I was able to retire and travel by RV and actually enjoy my family. And thank God, it's amazing how life works. And actually spent so much time with Derek while he was battling cancer. But if I was working, I said, how would I do it? I would have had to leave. I would have had to take some type of sabbatical. But this job did afford me that. But it's seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And that's the problem. They don't have guys with 15 years and 18 years on the job to tell them. I mean, we had Ralph Salento on the other day, and I thought it was an awesome interview. By the way, Ralph, if you watch it, shout out, man. Great job. It was almost 4 hours. He's so charismatic. Just a great guy, right? But what did he say in that conversation? He told us a story about his first 4 years on the job. He gets collared for doing his job. I mean, talk about a bump in the road. He got collared. He ends up getting put on the shelf for 2 years. You talk about, just killing your morale. But there was that veteran apparatus to tell him, like, hey, things are going to get better. And that's why I asked, I said, Ralph, what made you stay? Kids today that are in the NYPD, they're leaving, and they have far less issues than you had to worry about because the morale was so strong back then. And people were able to ride that wave, and there was veterans to be those mentors to tell you, like, listen, kid, it's going to get better. You're going to go through these waves on this job. We all went through waves on the job. But right now, it's just the morale is so far in the toilet, and they don't have those mentors to put their arm around them and say, hey, listen, things will get better. And here's why it's worth it to ride that wave or to ride that storm like Shawshank Redemption. Sometimes in the NYPD, it should be that way. You get on the job, you crawl through shit, and you get through the other side. And the other side is getting that pension, getting those benefits. And the pension, listen, it's not going to make you rich, but it is a platform that gives you the ability. Here, John and myself and the rest of the Finest Unfiltered Network, thank God to everybody that's here. I appreciate it. And also our engagement. We're building this thing together. But if we didn't have pensions, we wouldn't have the time to do the research that we do and to build this platform. And that pension has allowed us to be able to do that. And that's why seeing that light at the end of the tunnel is so important. But the morale is so low that they can't see that light. They can't see that light. There's no one on the job to tell them. The leadership is so weak. The leadership hasn't supported them. The unions aren't there to support them. And what do you need to be strong? You need support, right? If you don't have a strong core, your back is not being supported. And in the NYPD, figuratively speaking, your core has to be strong so that your back is being supported. And where does that come from? That comes from strong leadership that actually cares about you, the unions that actually care about you, your fellow man and woman that are working around you that care about you. And there was a time where people actually cared about you. And the irony too is, I think, John, when we got on the job, I think it was actually harder then people were harder on you, but they actually cared about you. I mean, the veteran cops, they were tough on you. You know, you think about like John Fitzgibbons and Dennis Meyer, they were hard on you. They made you laugh, but they were tough on you. But they were tough on you because they cared. It was tough love. They don't have that anymore. These kids are driving around 2 years on the job. There's no one to tell them, to guide them. There's no leadership. They're lost in the clouds. They're lost in the dark. They don't know where to go. And there's no light at the end of the tunnel. The only light is to get out of there. It's like the escape route. How do we get out of here? And because they see everyone else escaping. And as I said before, why would you stay if everyone else is, the guy that you change with in the locker room right next to you, he's gone. He left. The person you look to your right, they're gone. They're like, shit, what am I still doing here? Well, I'm going to leave, The girl that you knew across the hall, she's gone. Everyone's leaving. Like, well, maybe I should leave too. Why should I stay here? So the morale is totally in the toilet. The thing about this is, do I think that the law enforcement profession, especially the NYPD, do I think that it's actually dead? I know we say it's dead, right? I think it's buried right now. It's not necessarily dead. It's buried because there are people there that no matter what, even though we talk about how bad things are and how low morale is, they still want to be there. They still find that little thing they're hanging on that they want to be there. So could this come back? Yes. But the problem is I don't see it getting any better. Zohran Mamdani is the same leadership as Eric Adams. Eric Adams is the same as former Mayor Bill de Blasio, but things are getting worse, and they're getting worse for the cops. And the problem is not Eric Adams. In some ways, yes. And the problem is not necessarily Bill de Blasio. The problem is not Zohran Mamdani. It's the NYPD leadership that's going to pander to them and leave those cops in the dust and forget about them because they want to promote their image so that they get the next star or they get the next commissioner job from Zohran Mamdani or Eric Adams and Bill de Blasio. So that's really a problem. Who's your problem? It's your NYPD leadership.
Yeah, no, I mean, and so like people on here saying, oh, that I'm saying that, oh, well, I did Tuesday, Wednesday, so you should be able to do Tuesday, Wednesday. That's exactly what I'm saying is you lost those people that actually did it, right? Like the thing that we're missing is experienced leadership, experienced peers, and experienced subordinates. So you're missing that, right? Like, because I'm saying, yeah, look at me now. I did Tuesday, Wednesday off. Now, look, I have a take-home car. I make my own hours. I do what I want. Guess what? You could do it too. Oh, and I didn't know about anybody on the job either. And that's really what's happening on the job is the people that are placed in leadership never did what you have to do. And that's why you don't respect them. They tell you to do things they would never do. And that's why you don't respect them. And that's why morale is down, right? Because when I tell you to make a collar, I've made every bag of shit collar there is. I've had 3 days of processing vouchers, 100 vouchers. You ever do 100 vouchers before? You ever see what that looks like? You ever do a search warrant and you're like, oh my God, I don't even know how long this is going to take me. Oh, I don't even know how I'm going to secure this stuff properly. So when I tell you, oh, you got to do this and this is what you got to do, and I'm telling you what I did, I'm getting you through it. All right, this is what you're going to do. Get all these together. When they're ready, call me. I'm going to sign them for you. Don't worry about it. I'm going to walk you through it. Why? Because I've been there. I know what that feels like. I know what you're thinking when you have Tuesday, Wednesday off. Why? Because I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, oh my God, everybody's out. I'm here like an idiot. Who the hell wants to hang? What girl wants to go out on a Tuesday? Like, like they're all like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm thinking the same thing. And same thing with the arrest process. I know what you got to go through. I know how it feels. I don't just slam things on people, and I walk people through things when they don't understand it and when they're new. And that I did that because that was done for me, right? That was done for me. And when you lose people, when you have chiefs with 5 arrests, 15 arrests, 20 arrests, how are they walking you through anything? How are they telling you that, like, yeah, take this, arrest everybody? They don't even know what needs to be done. They don't even know the vouchers that need to be done. They don't know how the vouchers need to be done. How are they helping you? They're not. They're just throwing it on you. You're beneath me. I'm the boss. You do this. So, yeah, you're 100% right. I am that guy. Eric is that guy. Yeah, I did it. You could do it. That's 100% what we're losing. That is a beautiful point that you brought up in there. That is what you're losing. Yeah, I am that guy. I've done this. You could do this. This is how you're going to do it. This is how I did it. And now you set people on a path for success, right? Again, everything in the NYPD is temporary. The position you're in right now it could change tomorrow like this. I mean, look, you could show up late for mobile field force. You could be in Intel today. You could show up 5 minutes late for mobile field force. Jessica Tish is off with your head, and see you later. You know what I mean? See you later. You're in the 7-7 precinct doing midnights. You're in the 5-2 doing midnights. So that's what I'm saying. Like, stay focused on your goals. But if it's really bad, then you think about leaving. So is the job better now? Or was the job better? Excuse me. Was the job better when me and Eric did it? I don't really think that it was better. I think the morale was better. I think that the people that were working there were more experienced. And I think that's what got us through all those bad times. Now, did we have to deal with all the body camera BS? No. Did we have to deal with all of the markings and all the stupid paperwork that you guys are doing? No, but we had our own other things that we had to deal with. You know what I mean? There were other different things that we dealt with that you guys aren't dealing with. And I think at the end of the day, like, if you have a clear mission and a clear goal, you're not going to care about those things. You're just going to take it as it comes and stay. But like, yeah, I get it. But I get what everybody's saying. The morale's really bad. The system's really bad. But why is the morale bad? It's because the NYPD has prioritized hiring people over supporting experienced people. And that is, in my opinion, is the main factor when it comes to promotions, when it comes to job assignments, when it comes to treatment. The kid in the academy is looked at better than you as a second-grade homicide detective, right? The kid in the academy is more valuable than you as an anti-crime cop. The kid in the academy is more valuable than you as a lieutenant in a detail somewhere. That's what happened. The job is prioritizing hiring new people. And you hear them. They're not talking about all the people they lost. They're not talking about all the experienced people that retired before their time, vested early, or resigned. What are they saying? We hired more people than ever. Look how great we're doing. It's like, that's not good. That's not good, And so that was my point in the whole thing. So recently a study just came out. Kenny Quick, former NYPD inspector, he just dropped a study. It was him. He's in the Department of Criminal Justice from DeSales University in Center Valley, PA. Him, Jill Pacione Frometta, she's from John Jay College of Criminal Justice, and Kevin T. Wolf from the Department of Criminal Justice of John Jay College. Also, they have just done a study, and it's choosing the badge, motivational factors, and their influence on the job satisfaction among New York City police officers. So they do. Basically, what they do is a survey of about 1,800 NYPD cops. Ken Quick, former NYPD inspector, he had done a survey a while back, and it was like over a quarter of the people that took that survey were ready to leave the NYPD right at the moment. So we're going to have Inspector Quick come on probably next week or the week after. We got some scheduling conflicts next week, so I just got to speak to him. I'll speak to him later in the week. We're going to have him come on, go through those studies, but me and Eric are just going to go on our opinion of the study originally. So, Eric, I know you got a chance to read it. Like, what were your thoughts on like overall?
Well, I was telling you earlier, I think that we just spoke about. I think overall it was pretty good. There's a lot of information there. It talks about morale. It talks about why cops are leaving the job, but really what it talks about is why people are joining the profession or not. What's the motivation behind joining the profession the way it is right now, or why cops are not taking this profession. I think some of it is a little left leaning, but I think most of it's pretty good, and it really talks about purpose, what we've been talking about here. And I think we kind of summed it up. It talks about significance. It talks about purpose, having that dedication. What are the reason cops join? And I think that for some, it is a deity, right? They come from a line of a family of cops. They want to continue that deity. Some people, they come from urban neighborhoods in New York City, and they want to be a part of that wheel and help those neighborhoods that they came from. So it talks a lot about that. It does talk about morale. It talks about how morale affects it. I think it's great. He put some legitimate references in there. If you have an opportunity to read it, I highly suggest you do. I think ultimately what we're talking about really weaves into this study and what he wrote about it. And I think it's a very tough time to be a cop right now. I think that you said before, do you think that our job was harder then than it is now, and not necessarily? And I think that every generation goes through their own evolution. And it's that morale, the morale of the job, which is so important, so that those internal and external pressures don't penetrate it. Because if we look back when we got on the job, we both came on in 2004. Back then, it was a big deal if you carried a cell phone on the job, right? It was so anti-cell phone. You can't have, just think about how the tides have turned, right? You can't have a phone. Yet at the time, everyone started getting filmed, right? We had to get used to that uncomfortableness of being filmed, having a phone in your face, and everything was now being filmed. So we went through that evolution, but we had a lot more support and the morale was strong. So it didn't really penetrate. So that was a big deal back then. And now, in the generation that we're in right now, we've moved into body cameras. So for us, I don't think it would be harder. It was harder for us now, the way the job is right now, because we had a transition into the era of phones, into body cameras, into having business cards, because we didn't have that before. But I think a cop that starts the job today is not missing those things. If he starts day one with a body camera, with a business card, that's all he or she knows. So they're not missing it. What makes it so difficult today is there's no support, and the morale is so low. So the internal pressures, the external pressures are hurting the cops. However, I do think the oversight is and the political streams are much more difficult for the cop today than we had. For one, CCRB has so much power. I think CCRB is a weapon that we didn't necessarily have to deal with. Even if you had CCRBs, back when we started the job, or maybe anywhere up to 2018, it was a lot more fair. It wasn't terror. You weren't afraid of CCRB. If you got a complaint and you knew you did the right job, it was something that you felt that you could face. And it wasn't necessarily a chance that it could end your career. But CCRB now has the power to end your career. And along with the disciplinary matrix, there's another weapon, another sword to cut into a cop, and the oversight and the political legislation stripping away at the cops right now, which is the diaphragm law, 50A, qualified immunity, little by little. So I do think for the cop today, it's much harder. And the reason why I think that not only has policy changed and going through that evolution that we had, the policies have changed, but law has changed. And that's why I think it's more difficult today than it was then, along with the morale and support. I do think it's a more difficult job today.
I'll say I think that it is more difficult, but I'll say one thing. I think that when you look at NYPD supervision, and when you look at internal affairs, and when you look at inspections, they were way harder on us than they are on these cops. Way harder on us. I think that now, like, it's the outside factors. The job's actually trying to protect the cops, because they're like, wow, really, everyone's against them. We can't crush them like we used to. Like and I think, like, in some aspects they keep trying to get back there with O'Hare's team and all of them. Like they are starting to go back to what they did, but even that, it's a lot different. It's looked at a lot different. Hassan, just so you know, my first house that I bought it at 8.25%. That was my interest rate. That was my first interest rate, 8.25%. So I just want to let you know, interest rate at 8%. And you know what the great thing about that was?
8.25%. What year did you buy it?
I bought in 2008, right before it crashed. Right before the market crashed. I was 8.25% was my first. So
you had the interest only. You had the adjustable rate mortgage, right?
No. It was fixed, 8.25%. It was terrible.
Oh God!
But you know what was good? 2 years later, interest rates went down to like 4%, and I refinanced. And what I did is I was just like, all right, knock years off. Like, I've been paying this money the whole time anyway. Just knock all those years off. So I went to like a 15 or a 20 year. I forget what I did. And I was like done with my house. And then I was riding high until the vaccine mandate.
You were doing pretty. I just got to say, because not to get totally off topic, but it amazed me. I still think about it to this day. I bought my first condo in in August of 2005. I'll never forget, because a month later I was headed down to New Orleans helping out with Hurricane Katrina with the NYPD. But I remember when I bought the condo, literally, I didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. And I'm like, I can't believe they actually let me buy this thing. I don't even have any money, you know?
Yeah,
Like, I have a harder time today trying to get a condo like that. It was insane.
yeah. Yeah, well, it was a different time, you know. So I went, you know, it was just a crazy time, dude. So yeah, I mean, listen, mortgage is always scary. I don't, you know, I think like now I'm not afraid of it. Now I'll take whatever. If the bank's gonna give me $10 million, I'll take it. You know, like I used to be afraid of it. I'm not anymore. I'm not. So some debt's good. Like some debt's good. As,
Oh,
as
yeah.
long as you're not going to be underwater and kill yourself over it, you know? So, all right, let's get into the study a little bit. So the purpose of the study, this study examines how police officers' motivations for entering the profession relate to their current job satisfaction. In light of a shrinking police workforce, understanding which motivations foster long-term satisfaction is critical for recruitment and workforce stability. So they, like I said, they did 1,857 police officers. So this was the introduction into it, right? It says people choose to become police officers for a wide variety of reasons, ranging from deep-seated desire to help others and a search for excitement to the need for stable employment. There is a growing concern that fewer people are choosing to become police officers compared to the previous years, resulting in shortage of qualified police officers. The International Associations of Chiefs of Police, IACP, in 2024, recently, New York City Police Department Commissioner Jessica Tisch said NYPD applicants used to wait for years to get the call to join the academy. Now we are practically begging people to take the exam. In fact, the NYPD received 18,000 police officer applications in 2017, compared to 8,000 in 2024, a 55% reduction in applicants over 6 years. The NYPD is not alone in its recruitment struggles. In fact, the IACP recently surveyed police agencies throughout the U.S. and found that over 70% have experienced more difficult in attracting qualified candidates compared to 5 years ago. So now this study only goes back to 2017, where they had 18,000 police applications. But you've heard us interview a lot of people on here that came on in the 90s, and those applications sometimes were in the 80,000, 60,000 range. Now we're down to 8,000. You know, and out of that 8,000, how many people are really qualified? It's not good. You know, it's not good. And that's why, you know, people that are failing currently, the New York City Police Department, they're failing to meet the requirements. They're calling them back and saying, hey, you want to retry? So, which that would have never happened in the past, you know? So I think, so that was like how the study starts off. Like, what do you think about Jessica Tisch saying that? Like, what does that show? Like, she's telling you everything's fine. John Schell's on the news was telling you the morale's good, the locker room's good. Now he's saying the morale's bad. But she's saying she can't get anybody.
Well, for one, that shows you that they can't be trusted, that they're always gaslighting the public. I mean, Jessica Tisch is telling you crime is down. They're telling you how great it is. They're telling you that morale is good. But yet, at the same token, when it comes to testing and applicants, that they can't get anybody. So which one is it? You can't have it both ways. And the same thing for John Schell. I hate to remind you, but a couple of weeks ago, you were the chief of the department, and you were ultimately responsible for morale. You're the highest uniformed member of the NYPD in leadership. Morale was on your lap. You're responsible for that. And so it's an epic fail. And what was he saying back there? Oh, morale's great, especially in response. We knew he was talking right to the finest unfiltered. In response to what we were saying, we were saying that what we're saying is what we hear what's going on in the locker room. How do we know? Because we speak to cops on a daily basis. We just don't give out their names. We're not giving out their information. Credible sources. We always keep them anonymous, but we speak to cops every day, and we hear what they talk about in the morale. And morale is right through the toilet. It's right in the shitter. And then Shell is saying, morale is great. But then, hey, a couple weeks later on Twitter, everything is, has made a complete 180. And so now the real Shell is talking, right? Because morale is in the toilet. So Jessica Tisch, John Shell, the leadership of the NYPD, they can't be trusted. They're just outright lying. It's complete lie. We know it. I spoke to a cop the other day, and he was just like, it's miserable. It's miserable at this point. The roster that we had was about 150 people. We have about a third of that full duty right now. How can a precinct or a housing or transit location operate as an operational status? You have 1/3 of that running full duty. They're exhausted to the point they don't know what's up, they don't know what's down, and they're being treated like shit from within the inside. They get notifications on the way out the door to come back within a couple hours, to come in on the weekend. And what makes it even worse, not only are they getting notifications, John, and to our friends and listeners, they're getting notifications to go to other locations. So you're not even going to your precinct. So now you have to worry about getting your equipment to another location. You're being displaced. They're obviously it's and Bravo 959 says the department's a shit show. Yeah, it is a shit show. It's a shit show. They don't know what's up and down. First of all, even when things are good, I always hated having to go to another precinct because your equipment is important. It's part of your day, right? So now you have to take all that equipment, and yet you're not supposed to be driving in a police car in uniform, but you have to bring all that equipment to another location. So it takes a lot more preparation. You have to find out what you need, where you're going. That's another added stress while they're already stressed out because they're lacking sleep. They're lacking the ability to maintain physical fitness. They're lacking the ability to get a good meal. They don't know what's up or down. They're constantly working. They got all this money, but they can't even spend it. It's terrible. It's terrible. They're exhausted. I feel sorry for them.
No, yeah. Terry Moraine, thank you, brother. He's always says, please hit the like button. It helps the show. Guys, there's also another feature that I saw YouTube put on there, and it's like something if you watch this show and you're not watching it live, if you like click this button, it'll push us further into the algorithm. So if you guys watch the show after, if you could just hit the 2 clicks, the subscribe button, we'd appreciate it. We're closing in on 60,000. I'm whatever. God's good. Hopefully we keep growing, we're definitely aiming for that 100,000 before we get to the million. That's Eric's been dying to do that, by the way. So, but thank you, Terry. I appreciate it, brother.
I've been waiting for that, dude.
So, all right. So the study that Quick and them do, it highlights a lot of points, and we might not represent them right. And that's why I want Ken to come on so that he could explain it in his own words, because it really is an academia language. But I'm just going to break down kind of what I read from it. I read that the people who still have the best outlook on the job, they said they joined for either they wanted to help people, they said that they joined for excitement, or they joined for fighting crime. Like, basically, they said that the people that feel the best right now, those are the main reasons that that was their main motivational factor, other than the retirement. The retirement benefits, everyone said, was a big part of why they came on the job. So retirement benefits were a big part of came on the job, but why they have job satisfaction is because they came on here to help people, they came on to fight crime, or they came on because they wanted to they wanted some like adrenaline, like they're adrenaline junkies. They wanted to run into that stuff. So those are the 3 groups of people that still have a better outlook. The people that came on solely for the benefits, solely for the money, don't have that outlook any further. Like, did you read that from did you get the same thing that I was getting?
Yeah, I did read it. That's why I thought it was a little bit left leaning, because it leaves out the part about, which I said before, about a deity. And I think that was one of the biggest things that we lost in the NYPD, is there would be a deity of families, right? You would see it was the O'Neill family or the McMahon family. And I know I'm using a lot of Irish names because there was a lot of Irish families that generation to generation. Donahue.
Pat, we're sorry, Pat.
But there were a lot of generations that would pass the torch, right? From grandfather to father, and father to son. And I think that's really important. That shows the longevity, not just the longevity for the actual cop, but for a family. And we lost a lot of those deities. And that shows you really breakdown in morale, right? Where, I mean, for the most part, we speak to a lot of former chiefs, retired, that have sons and daughters, and they're not advising them to take the NYPD or take any profession in law enforcement. They're actually advising them to do something else, and so that hurts the profession. Are there some people that join because they want to help people? Yeah, of course. But I think, unfortunately, the part that he's right is I think some people do take it for the retirement and they take it for the salary because they only see it as a job or a stepping stone to something else in their career. I don't think a lot of people don't see it as a pathway of, or a calling anymore. And that's what the part that I think he's missing, right? For many, it used to be a calling. For many, it was a deity. And for many, it was a challenge also, right? You know, to you love New York City and to be a part of that community, to continue being a part. What better way to be a part of that community is to be a cop to help within. So you know, I think this really it's a great study, but I do think it's a little left leaning. It leads out a lot of stuff that you and I would normally talk about.
Well, I think that he does bring in family legacy. Like, you know what I mean? I think he does mention that, like, as part of a reason that people join. Like, basically everyone mentioned the retirement. Like, basically that was like the job stability and the retirement was why they wanted to come in. Like, everybody. Like, it didn't matter. But that's not what made them happy, right? And so, like, family legacy really wasn't high up as to why they were still motivated to do the job, like why they were happy or felt like they would stay on. You know what I mean? Now, like, he does make mention to that. It wasn't it like you come on for the
Yeah.
money, you come on for the money, but the money doesn't make you happy. And that's kind of what I read from that study, you know? And so and then it was like it goes on to like the biggest factor in police morale through this study, through 1,800 cops, is whether or not the department has your back. It had nothing to do with the public. It had nothing to do with the mayor. It had nothing to do with the media. It was like your own department. Like every 1,800 cops, basically, out of those 1,800 cops, they were basically saying that, like, my morale, the morale of the department falls solely on the NYPD. It has nothing to do with any outside factors. And that basically confirms everything that we've been saying, right? Like, that's because, I mean, that's how we feel. You know what I mean? That's how I feel. That's how you feel. That's how Marlon feels. That's how Sal feels. That's how Ron and Rob feel. Like, we feel like that, right? So it kind of, that study goes along with the way we think, you know? So like I think, what are your thoughts on that? Like, I think that, like, that basically, that's like, oh yeah, the finest, he should have just wrote the finest I felt it was right. Check. Right.
Well, that's the part that I love, because that's the part that we actually been saying. That part that he writes about is what I've said earlier today on this episode. That it doesn't matter if Eric Adams is the mayor. It doesn't matter if it's former Mayor Bill de Blasio. It doesn't matter if we bring Bill de Blasio back. It doesn't matter if it's Zohran Mamdani. Yes, they're the mayor of New York City, and they have a purpose and a job, and they do have an impact on the police department. But really what affects morale internally is the NYPD leadership. That's what affects the internal pressures of the NYPD. The cops are not concerned with Eric Adams or Zohran Mamdani. They're concerned with how the NYPD leadership is going to treat them and the mission and vision. And the problem why it gets distorted is because the NYPD leadership is not going by NYPD policy and what's necessary to be effective doing policing and to make good morale. They're pandering to Zohran Mamdani or Eric Adams or former Mayor Bill de Blasio because of their self-promotion and their self-image, or they're paving the way for their offspring, or paving the way for someone that they know who's in tier 2 by nepotism and cronyism. So that's the problem. That's why I agree. That's the part where, yeah, it should be reference, defiance, unfiltered, because he puts a lot of references in it, because that's exactly what we're talking about. I remember I did an episode with Rob Lukash. I think it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I got to drive the Chief, by the way. Outstanding. And so Rob and I were talking about surviving Zohran Mamdani. And I said, you know what I realized? It's not surviving Zohran Mamdani. It's surviving the NYPD leadership. Because guess what? Who was the chief of department under Eric Adams? John Schell. So John Schell, that's why I say John Schell is directly responsible for morale. So the lack of morale that John Schell now talks about 3 weeks later, it's his fault. And he doesn't even realize it. He's so short-sighted, and he's so concerned about his money. That's who cares about retirement. He's the only one. All he cares about is money. That he doesn't even realize that it was his responsibility and his leadership to take ownership that trickles down through the department to increase or decrease morale.
Yeah. Modern Samurai says, morning, seeing us losing every battle can't be good for morale. Losing in court, losing in public opinion, losing in the eyes of politicians and community with the defund the police movement can't be good. Won't convince me otherwise. So I think, like, so I think there were a couple of points in my career that I think really affected policing. I think two of them were the Michael Brown incident. Well, actually, I'm going to say three: Michael Brown incident, Eric Garner incident, and then the George Floyd incident. Right. So those three times. But did those three times really change politicians' view of us? No. Did it change the media scrutiny of us? No. What it changed, those times changed, is for the first time. Now, I grew up in Italian neighborhoods. I always hung out in like the boroughs of New York City. So, and no one I know ever liked cops. Like, so I'm just going to be straight up. Like, no one liked the cops. Like, they didn't think the cops were great. They weren't like, oh, you're a cop. They were like, like, it wasn't like that. You know what I mean? Like, nobody ever liked the cops. But what changed during those times is the public sentiment of police really changed. So, like, the girl that was a teacher that she doesn't know. She doesn't like a cop because she got a ticket one day or whatever. She doesn't really know why she doesn't like a cop. Now she's actually having a conversation about, I don't like cops. The nurse doesn't like the cops. The doctor doesn't like the cops. Why? Because the media changed their perception. So I think those were big hits. But again, through all three of those times, the thought of me leaving the New York City Police Department never arose. They just never did. Like, I was like, oh, whatever. I remember during COVID, I remember specifically Tuck-It, the brand Tuck-It, Untuck-It or whatever, the shirt. They were giving free shirts to first responders. So they were giving free shirts. Oh, you're first responder, sign up, send us your ID or whatever. We'll give you free shirts, right? Or whatever it was. And I remember, like, everyone's like, wow, I can't believe all these businesses are giving us free stuff. Starbucks is giving us free coffee. I'm like, don't get used to it, because it's going to change like this. And sure enough, 2 days later, George Floyd hits, and overnight they want to cancel Paw Patrol. I'm like, what the like, how did that happen? And so, did those things affect morale? Yeah, absolutely. They affected morale. I agree with you 100%, Modern Samurai, but they affected morale temporarily. People have short memories. All of us have short memories, right? The thing that really brought the morale down is the changes the police department made, and then how you were treated by your own, right? How you were treated by a Terrence Monahan, a Dermot Shea, a John Schell, a Cass Daughtry. That's what affects you more than what that nurse that you don't really care about is saying, that what your wife's friend's lib husband is saying. Like, I used to abuse these. I didn't ever care. I would go out to dinner and I would be laughing my ass off. I would be like, all right, yeah. I was like, you hate the cops. But when your neighbor parks in your driveway or is this much over an inch from the driveway, you don't knock on his door like a man and be like, yo, bro, could you move your car? No, what do? You pick up the phone and you call 911. So you as much as you hate the cops, you need the cops, And like, so like those things, as much as you could say they affect your morale and like it messed you up in the head a little bit because you're like, wow, everybody hates us. I think it brought us a lot like closer together. I remember those roll calls after those nights. Like, I remember how people felt. I remember how we all felt, but we kind of had an us versus them mentality at that point. Right. And so I don't think those were factors in people leaving. I don't. I think it was the internal job politics. I think what these people are saying is right. When you look at it overall, I think 100%. Like, it's your own department. And then the study goes on to like, who's the least satisfied cops? Patrol cops, mid-level career cops. So, like I said, I just spoke to a guy. I spoke to actually a couple of people mid-career that want to leave this week. Yesterday, I actually spoke to someone mid-career on patrol, miserable, and I think that makes sense because patrol, whether you're on patrol in housing, whether you're on patrol in transit, but I will say patrol in the precinct gets the majority of, they're the ones really like, they get the majority of garbage. Like a patrol cop in the NYPD, it's like you're expected to be perfect. You have all of these responsibilities. You're scrutinized to like the next level. You're treated like you're 2 years old. So I understand it. Like, and I think that's always been the case. I think it's always been the case that as you progress in your career, your morale will start to go down if you don't feel fulfilled in your career. And we've been just trashing patrol ever since I was on the job. I've heard, so just give it to patrol. Just give it to patrol. Just give it to patrol. It's like they can't even do it. Like, they're not even doing what they need to do. Like, the patrol just needs to focus on answering the 911 jobs, taking the reports, and helping out with fighting crime. And they're not. They're doing everything else but that. And so I think we're losing the mission there. But I think that makes sense to me, that mid-level career people. Like, what do you think about that? Mid-level career and patrol cops have the least job satisfaction.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Even when morale was good, and I mentioned it earlier in this episode, and I feel sorry because patrol is the backbone of the job, and you don't see that anymore. I remember there was a cop I used to work with, fellow Marine. His father retired with 25 years on the job, and he rode a sector car, the 4-4 precinct, the entire time in the job. And I think that's pretty noble. I think he should be proud of that. Rode a sector car in the 4-4 precinct. There was pride in patrol, right? There was pride in patrol police officers. That's why I enjoy those shows that actually show what it is to be a patrol cop, like Third Watch or Southland, that actually focuses on patrol, or even End of Watch, where it actually exemplifies and we get to see what it's like to be a patrol cop. Because most of the movies are about detectives, about high-speed units, but not really too many are about patrol. And I think, unfortunately, patrol gets kind of shit end of the stick, and really they should get a lot of respect. It's a tough job. They do a job that every day that they're working a beat, and every day is the unknown, right? Their job is mysterious. They're not necessarily working an investigation where they know what they're going to be doing the next day. Every day is a new day for them, and it's really important that they know their beat, because they're their backbone, and they're a pivotal point that they provide information to the detective squads, and their information in preliminary on investigation and cases is very important to the squad and how patrol handles a scene. So I think the patrol cops should get a lot more respect. So that's something I think has been going on forever, unfortunately, especially even since we were on the job. I remember the 120 precinct. If you remember when we had Inspector Bruno when he was the CO, and he did a good job, but his theory was more special ops, the better it is. And I remember patrol was tailed down to, I think there was maybe 4 or 5 cars running around the entire 120 precinct. And that's when it wasn't divided like it is right now. Everyone was in special ops. You had a Berg team, a probations team, like 4 crime teams, conditions teams, because there was so much crime going on. It was busy. And the way that they kept things down was all these specialized units. And they did a great job getting all these guns, but patrol took so much more weight now. And they really did kind of get shitted on. And I think the patrol cops are really important. So I think that's something but the morale was better. So it was tougher to penetrate. Now I want to reflect on what you said before. I agree. The Eric Garner incident, Michael Brown incident, and George Floyd are very pinnacle points in the history, especially when we were on the job. But what I saw, I think it's the internal pressures of the NYPD that really affect them. But I saw something that was kind of unique. And this is what I saw. I don't know if you saw the same thing. When it came to the Eric Garner incident and Michael Brown, all the cops were together and they were tight. And not necessarily us versus them, but the cops were like, hey, it's us versus chaos. And we're going to stick together. But I saw something different. When it came to George Floyd, a lot of cops stuck together, but I saw that George Floyd was an incident that actually ripped through the department that I've never seen before. And it started to create a divide amongst cops. And a lot of cops were, thought George Floyd was a martyr. And there were some of the cops that thought Derek Chauvin was a murderer. And there were some cops who thought completely different, that Derek Chauvin was a victim of circumstance. So I'd never seen such a rift like I seen with that case. And that actually tore through the job. And I think it was a failure on the leadership and the unions that didn't bring the cops together and say, hey, this is what's happening, but we need to come together. That was the first incident that I saw rip through the department.
You know what? That's a good point, because I remember like having conversations with a lot of black cops at that time, and a lot of them felt that that was murder and it was racially motivated. And I'm like, and to me, I'm like, how could you say, wait, how do we know that if George Floyd wasn't white, the incident doesn't go down the same way? And so I totally agree with you. I think for the first time we saw the job turn political, right? Like we saw the knees, right? You're not allowed to make a political statement. Couldn't wear, remember Dana couldn't put the Trump thing on her thing, but Edwin Raymond could put his fist in the air, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Keith Madry could take a knee. It's like, wait a minute. You're saying no political statements. Why are we making political statements? And I don't think there was a processing period for the police department. And I still don't think there's a processing period for the police department with anything, because their narrative shifts so much depending on what the narrative is that they're pushing at the moment. Like their logic changes. Like I love watching Michael Gerber. Like I love watching Michael Gerber like fall back on the law. Well, we can't violate the law. It's like, dude, how many times have you violated the law? It's like now, because it fits your narrative, now you care about the law all of a sudden. Or like when Eric Adams and Kaz Daughtry kept going on the news, we're told to follow the law. It's like, oh, really? Wow, that's amazing. You guys are following the law? It doesn't look like you guys are following the law to me. So based upon what's convenient. But yeah, I think that time was, you definitely saw a rift. I think the soft underbelly of this country is race. And now religion. I think they use that to divide all of us. And for me, I'm sitting there and I'm going, all right, well, you're a cop. Something looks bad on camera. Should we all hang you right there and then? Should we hang you on that right there and then? Or should we allow this process to play out? Now, I'll be the first to say, I thought that what Chauvin did, I thought that the way he stood on him, for the length he stood on him, and again, there's different angles. One shows it's on his neck, another shows it's on his shoulder blade. We know that that's a trained movement. I don't know that the trained movement on the back. I can't tell because there's two different camera angles. But I'll say I would have never sat down there that long. I would have known the optics of that. I'm not saying I would have believed George Floyd that he was knocked out, but I would have called the ambulance. I would have tried to make it look good. Just because I've been in New York City and I know, I always tell people, you're an actor when you're a cop. Like, you got to play it up. When people come up to me and get my face, I'm like, oh, sir, you all right? You okay? Everything okay? Are you on your medication? Do you need medication? Do you want me to call you an ambulance? You know how quick people will leave? Like they would just run, like, oh, are you okay, sir? Are you everything okay with you? Like you have to be an actor. So like I knew that. Now Chauvin was an experienced cop in Minneapolis. I don't know the culture in Minneapolis. I can't talk. But I'm sitting there and saying, well, what does the outcome show of the autopsy? Right? And you heard George Floyd, when you watched the body camera, what'd you hear him saying? I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. He was saying I can't breathe when he was in the car. They weren't even touching him. So I personally thought he was going out of the picture because he was ODing. And then that's what happened. So to me, I'm like, facts matter. And what we're doing today and what we did during that time. So I totally agree with you. What we did during that time is say, all right, facts don't really matter. It's what matters is that there was a white cop on a black guy's neck and the black guy died. So cops are racist. That's what happened. I had people in my family posting black squares. I'm like, are you kidding? Am I a racist? I was like, tell me I'm a racist. Tell me I'm a racist, because that's what you're telling me. You're telling me that everyone in my professions are racist. And for the guys that stood with George Floyd and were like, oh, that's murder and all that, and yeah, we have a problem with race in this country, like you're literally deeming yourself a racist as well. You're saying you're part of a racist organization, whether you're black, you're brown, you're Muslim, you're Jewish, whatever, And so like that was, yeah, I agree with you. That was a lot different than the Brown incident and the Garner incident. The Garner incident, though, I think really hit home for me a lot, though, because I've done that move so many times. I literally remember being trained in the police academy. Get them down, and so I have done that so many times, and I watched that incident over and over again, and I don't see where Pantaleo does anything wrong. And then I just flash back to James O'Neill on that stage starting to cry and saying, well, basically, when Garner fell on Danny's arm, 1, 2, 3, that's why I fired Danny. And I was like, that's it. The truth doesn't matter. We have it on camera, and the truth really doesn't matter any longer. It doesn't matter. And we got to be crazy to go out here and continue to do anti-crime work. We got to be out of our mind.
Jay Rammond, 26, our brother, fellow lieutenant, retired. How you doing, brother? My man right there. He says Sean Bell was the first. So now I agree. Sean Bell was a prolific incident. It was very controversial, and there was a lot of politics, but I do believe that it had boundaries. I think that at the time, former Mayor Bloomberg overstepped, and he was saying that it was he said that it was excessive. And remember, he said the 50 shots were excessive, and I believe that he overstepped at the time. But I didn't see it as penetrating the department. I saw the department stand together at the time. I didn't see any rift when it came to black and white. It wasn't any questions about racism. But the George Floyd, to me, is completely different. That was a complete different incident, and where the politics managed to intercept and infect the police department. And that's where I really saw exactly what you're saying, John, where cops start to question, was race a factor in it? I saw black cops question it. I saw white cops question it on both sides. And it wasn't a matter of racism towards each other within the department, but they were starting to ask those questions, do we police with racist ideology? So I do think that infected the police department. And that also led to, I think, problems with leadership, because some of the people that had those questions in their mind were on the path towards moving up the job, and part of that external pressures and actually pandering to that political movement of that the cops are racist. So I think that's where a lot of the problems start to ferment. I think that the George Floyd case is really a pinnacle point in our history for law enforcement and beyond, but especially for the NYPD. Even though it was in Minnesota, somehow it really transcended to the NYPD.
No, yeah, we always take the brunt, right? We take whatever happens. It doesn't matter where it happens. It's like whatever happens across the world, they're protesting in New York City. Like it's the NYPD's fault. It's like, oh, the Italian police did something. Oh, you guys are awful. I can't believe what you guys did. Yeah. So Chronicles and a bunch of other people, I think Rafael Martinez too, said the hype button. If you guys could hit the hype button, we appreciate it. We'll remind you again. Pat Donahue says, what has happened in the past 4 years illustrate what happens to management when people are out in positions they aren't capable to be in. So now I think, when I'm looking at Zohran Mamdani now, I said a couple of things. I said that I think that there'll be less corruption in the Mamdani administration than that's in the Adams administration. I don't think there's going to be any less nepotism, though. And I don't think there's going to be any less unqualified appointments. And I don't think there's going to be any less people that you're like, how the hell is this guy a commissioner? How the hell is this guy a chief? And I think you're going to see, how it was our time now with the fist in the air. And a lot of black people had no problem putting that on the bottom of their email. It's our time now. I think, 100%, you're going to see Asian Pacific Islanders, particularly people of Muslim. It's their time now. You're going to see that, and that's going to continue to affect morale when you talk about promotions, when you talk about people getting transferred that don't deserve to be there. I mean, it's already happening. The transition's already happening. Look at the orders and you'll see what we're saying. You know what I mean? It's going to happen. You're going to see, and I don't know. I guess Eric Adams gets his last promotion ceremony. Pat was talking about, so we'll see who gets promoted there. We'll see what names are there. I'm looking for one name though. So we'll see who was and you know who it is, so yeah, so I think 100%, I think that's gonna, people saying morale's gonna get worse. I think that the numbers are gonna get worse, the lack of experience gonna get worse, because that's the direction we're headed in. But I think those factors stay the same. I think it's less corruption, more nepotism. It was same amount of nepotism. You can't have any more than what they have at this point. I think you're going to see a lot of inexperienced people in positions they don't belong in. Shocker. That's been what's been the last 4 years. Oh, do this, kid, even though I never did it. Yeah, don't worry about it. And And again, you see a lot of people that really don't understand policing. Eric Adams doesn't understand policing. I mean, you ever hear this guy talk about public safety? It's like I want to throw up in my mouth. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, where did you work, dude?
That's why we got our sound options, but we need that. What are you, stupid?
Yeah.
What are you, stupid? That's the best. Christopher Dabrowski 6880. I don't know what YouTube is doing with these numbers. Sorry what YouTube's doing to these handles, but he says nepotism will go through the roof once Mamdani is in office. I think that nepotism can't get any worse at this point. It will just be a different facet. I think we could anticipate and expect more of a Muslim aspect to it, maybe more Islamic starting to move up. I don't believe in discrimination on any ends. I don't believe that we should have a chalk administration where we discriminate against other ethnicities, and I don't think it's right to put everyone in place that's Muslim and discriminate against blacks and whites. And I don't think any form of discrimination is right. We should put the most suitable, and it doesn't matter. And I don't know if it's a joke or not, but I've been receiving this this thread I've been getting from various cops anonymously that supposedly Jessica Tisch appointed all these new commissioners and all these new positions, and they were all Jewish. I think it's a rumor, and I think it's a lie. But the point is, and I said, if that were true, that would be wrong too. There shouldn't be any form of discrimination. It shouldn't be every single person that's appointed is Jewish, or every single person is Muslim, or every single person is black. It's impossible. In such a diverse police department, such a diverse city, it should just organically be diverse. It will be. If we're putting the people in place that are most suitable, that where they belong, it will be diverse on its own. This whole idea that we have to diversify and DEI, or it will do it on its own, So it's wrong either way. I just don't think that it's going to be worse with Zoran. I think it's going to be business as usual. People are trying to give this perception like, oh my God, things are going to fall apart. They've already fell apart. Morale is in the shitter. We can't get applicants to do the job. I mean, listen, Ron Layson was in candidate assessment himself, and he'll tell you, it's, the amount of applicants you need just to get one person in the academy is a substantial amount. It's exhausting what they have to go through, and so how can Jessica Tisch say everything's great yet you only have 8,000 applicants? I mean, how many out of those 8,000 applicants, how many of them could actually be cops if they were actually going by the standards? Obviously, the standards have been lowered. Lower the standards, that's another thing that affects morale. There's so many issues that affect morale, and we're seeing it right in front of our faces. And for Jessica Tisch and John Shell to deny it is just another outright lie. How can they be trusted?
No, yeah. That's another thing that they weighed in on too, is like the mismanagement. So Fox says, John, at those times, cops were not getting attacked by protesters. So I'm gonna push back on that one, because I'm gonna say we didn't allow ourselves to be attacked. Protesters didn't feel emboldened enough to attack police officers, because what would have happened? They would have got slammed on the ground and arrested, and they would have been eating bologna and cheese sandwiches for the weekend. You know what I mean? And their process in time, whether you were getting a DAT or not, would have been through the roof, because it would have been a mass process. And I've been saying that before. I don't give a shit about bail reform. You need competent leadership in there. I don't care. If there's a mass protest like we had the other day, I'm locking everybody up. And I'm putting all you guys in MAPC with one computer. You're going to have one computer. You're all going to get a lot of overtime. And that's it. That arrest processing, it's going to take a long time. People are going to spend the weekend in jail. People are going to spend, and they're going to trickle out every half hour, every 45 minutes. And guess what? Next protest, they're not going to feel so hot. They're going to be like, you know what? It's Friday. I don't think I want to get arrested. Thursday seems to be like the day, because everybody wants to get arrested on Thursday and then be free on Friday, and be free to do what they got to do on Friday, spend all the money that they got from taxpayers, all these paid agitators. But they're spending 4 hours in jail. We're rushing through the arrest process. No, absolutely not. And this is why they feel emboldened, because they're not even getting charged appropriately. Where are the assaults on the police officers? Why do people feel emboldened to put their hands on cops today? It's because of NYPD leadership. I don't give a shit about Alvin Bragg. NYPD leadership should be charging these people with felonies, assault of a police officer, and then they should use the bully pulpit, right? Jessica Tisch, she's supposedly this great leader. She should be using her bully pulpit to be like, well, when you put your hands on cops, you're getting charged with a felony. Oh, and then when we charge the felony, you know what Alvin Bragg does? He drops it. This is disgraceful. And then, oh, guess what? All those balding guys that are severely balding and they look terrible and they wear really cheap suits. They're called union presidents. Those guys, they should be doing the same thing. And they're not. And it's disgraceful.
Who are those guys?
You know.
Frank Brescia. I think Frank Brescia's spot on. This is a great comment here. This might be the comment of the day. George Floyd did show how politics affects policing. Spot on. But the Harlem Mosque attack on April 14, 1972 changed the relationship between the NYPD brass and City Hall forever. I think that's a great point. I think we've shown fantastic, Frank Brescia. Appreciate it. I think we've shown also how with that incident, and John and I had retired Detective Jurgensen on the show, and we spoke to him about that incident. If anyone has an opportunity to read the book Circle of Six, great book, talks about that incident, and you learn a lot about how the politics plays a role back then and how it's come full circle. But that's why it's important, especially now that the NYPD leadership is strong, so that you can actually stand up and be a support system for the rank and file and stand up for the cops, so they can actually be that barrier, that protective barrier for the cops to City Hall. Be that protective barrier for the cops to Civilian Complaint Review Board. Because Civilian Complaint Review Board has full access to the NYPD right now, and there's no barrier. There's no one standing in front of CCR being wait, you're not doing this right. You're not doing this right. The NYPD leadership's not doing that. I mean, Jessica Tisch, we said this before, should not allow administrative trial in that Win Rosario case. 2 police officers that are in a position of close proximity to someone with a sharp-edged weapon should not be facing possible termination for their job. That's what Jessica Tisch needs to be, that barrier, and stand up for the cops and say they were put in a position that they had to use their firearms to preserve life. And there's not going to be a trial. There's already been oversight. CCRB, you're overstepping your purview, and this needs to stop. But no, instead, they'll allow that trial to play out and put those cops through immense stress. And not only those cops, the entire police department affects it and feels the stress that those 2 cops have to go through, because there are 2 cops on their way, or maybe a lot more than 2 cops, that will handle a job just like that, an incident just like the Win Rosario case, and be put in that position where they will have to use their firearms, and they will be the next case because they were not protected from CCRB. And that's a lot of stress for the cops to go through. Those external factors that cause internal pressures within the NYPD because they're not getting the support. So I don't care if it's former Mayor Bill de Blasio. I don't care if it's Eric Adams or Zohran Mamdani. I care who's in NYPD leadership. I care who's the police commissioner. I care who's the chief of department. And right now, the chief of department is a complete jellyfish. Michael LaPetri is an intelligent man. He knows exactly how things are supposed to be playing out, and he has not stepped in. He has not said a word. He's a complete jellyfish in this.
Yeah, totally agree. And yeah, like, listen, everyone knows political differences with Lieutenant Edwin Raymond, but Beauty in the Struggle too says Edwin has a great book. He does, and it spells out how cops are treated on the job. It really does. It is great, and I recommend, if you guys are into audiobooks, getting the audiobook, because it's coming from him. And if you are on the job in that time period, you're not like, oh yeah, he's full of crap. Like, you're like, oh yeah, that definitely happened. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that definitely happened. So so things haven't got better since that time. They've actually gotten so much worse. So just back to the study. So then the study goes on, and it says, like, after you hit 20, though, like mid-level, like, actually patrol cops are always miserable. So, and then mid-level cops in their career, 6 years to 19 years. But once you hit 20 years, your morale goes back up and your job satisfaction goes up. And I think that's because now you're on your own time, right? Now you could leave whenever you want. You could say, all right, I'm done. your sergeant's like, yeah, listen, yeah, I'm changing your RDOs. No, you're not. I remember there was a lieutenant. I don't remember his name, but he was like a midnight lieutenant, and he was my lieutenant for like a month. And nice guy. He had like 25 years on, and something happened. They caught like two midnight guys. They caught two midnight guys going into the house, and they were like parking the car in the garage and going to sleep. Right? So they caught them. So the shoe flies in there, inspections are in there, all the shit's going on. Everybody's there. And I'll never forget. I'm like walking in, and the duty captain, the shoe fly, says, "Hey, look, you're getting transferred to the platoon commander. You're going to day tours." He's like, "No, I'm not." He's like, "What'd you say?" He goes, "I'm not going to day tours." He's like, "You're going to day tours." He's like, No, I'm not. He goes, "I'm not, because I'm retiring right now." He grabs a stack of 28s and he just starts filling 28s. And the shoe fly's going nuts. And he's like, yeah, whatever, bro. I'm going to the pension section right after this. Yeah, do what you got to do. Don't worry about it. And literally that was it. He retired that day to fill out his 28s. Never seen the guy again. And so like you're in a position of power. You hit 20 years. It makes sense that your morale is going to go up now. Now it's like, all right, now I'm here on my own time. I could leave whenever I want to. I'm choosing to be here now. Where before you're kind of working towards that goal. Does that make sense to you? Like, what do you think about that?
Oh, it's no longer, of course, it's no longer a prison sentence. Unfortunately, right now, for the guys that are there, it's a prison sentence. If they stay, it's like you're doing time. You're pretty much doing time right now because they're not happy. They're in a position where they don't have the ability to have critical thinking. They're locked in to a position where they have so much oversight and micromanaged. So yeah, when you hit 20 years, you have an escape plan. You can just leave at any time. So there's power in that, right? It's liberating. You have freedom that, you know what? It doesn't go well. I have an escape plan. I'm out the door. And so for these young cops right now that don't have the mentors at the top, they don't have those veteran cops say, hey, stick around, things are going to get better. Their only escape plan is just to leave. So that's the bottom line. And so it makes sense. You hit 20 years on the job, sure. That weight comes off your shoulders at any time. You can leave. That door is there, and you can see that light at the end of the tunnel. But with 15 years on the job and morale is to the shitter, and you're like, 5 years left. 5 years is a long time. They say the average person, if you want to change your life, you could change your life within 5 to 7 years. I mean, you get guys that have never trained in martial arts ever in their entire lives, and they go train in 5 to 7 years. They're competing at the highest levels. So you could change your whole life within 5 years. So 5 years can be a long time. And that's why I said earlier, Reed talks about 12-hour tours. If things are great, 12 hours is no big deal. But if things are bad, morale is bad, 12 hours is a long time. Think about it. When you're doing something you enjoy, time goes quick. You're doing something that you don't like, time could be forever. Stand still.
Yeah, 100%. So then they recommend. There's a lot more. It's very nuanced, that thing. That's kind of why I want to have Ken on so he could break it down for us. You know what I mean? But I just broke it down like just from the notes I took on it. But like they basically what they start to suggest is like, well, the job should recruit people that want to do the job, right? Like, because those are the people with the greatest amount of satisfaction, the people that want to go out and arrest bad guys, the people that are adrenaline junkies, the people that want to help people. Like, those are the people you should be going after, not the people with the paycheck, not the people that are doing it for a paycheck, not the people that want to be TikTok cops. Like, you want to go after the people that want to do the job. They have no alternative motives. They're not looking to use the job to build a platform to springboard off of it, like some people that we see on Instagram, that made a career off being Instagram's models, people that want to actually do the job. How do you do that? I mean, I think you do what you do. You go to people in a team mindset. You go to the football teams. You start recruiting in high school, the football team, the basketball team, the wrestling team, the track teams. You go through all the volleyball, whatever, the chess club, the political club. You go to people that are part of these teams, and you recruit. And you start to recruit the people that have a team-minded concept, that want a community-minded concept, people that care. I think that's how you do it. Right now, they're just struggling so terribly that I don't even know if they know what they're doing anymore. I really don't. So they say that, but they also suggest at the same time they're saying don't go after the people that are doing it just for the paycheck. you should be pushing the pension because that is the number one reason people come on the job. So you're always gonna get those, you know what I mean? Like, but I get what they're saying. Like, you should put a focus on, like, really have a target audience who you're gonna go after.
Joe Mayo, how you doing, brother? Joe Mayo actually brings up a good point. Says, "Hey, John and Eric, since you guys always talk about her, when are you having talk about?" I'm sorry, what did he say? Hey, John and Eric, since you guys always talk about her, when are you having Nancy Sirigliano on the podcast? I thought she would be a great idea. She's always welcome. If she's watching this, Nancy, you're always welcome. I'll reach out to her. I'll reach out, see if she wants to come on. I don't want to bother her every time, and she's enjoying it. Well, if she wants to come on, we would have a good laugh and some great stories.
Eric's still scared of her, so he's not going to call.
Yeah. Just to terrify me. You know what's funny?
Hey, Sarge.
I was a tough kid. I was a young Marine straight out of combat. And when I would go to the desk, she would terrify me. She would stand over the desk. I'm like, I would go ask retired Detective Mike Freeman. He was a great guy, by the way, buddy of mine. I'm like, yo, can you get me a voucher? I would never answer for any paperwork. But
yeah, she was
good. She was great. Tough. She was great. But listen, the bottom line is morale's in the toilet. Can it get better? Yeah, but there's a lot that needs to happen for that morale to get better. And I'm serious. Time when you're miserable, time stands still. If you're having a good time, time doesn't matter. Time doesn't matter. So for a kid right now with 2 years on the job, retirement, it doesn't even seem like it's possible. There's no one with 18 years on the job to say, hey, kid, I got 2 more years on. I went through bumps and bruises, but it's all worth it. Here's my stories. I used to tell cops all the time. I used to tell them, it doesn't matter about money and all this stuff. At the end, when it all comes down to it, and I heard this from a captain when I was in Iraq. He told me this when I was in the Marines. I'll never forget it. He said, when it's all said and done, all you're going to have in life is stories. What are going to be your stories? You're going to be sitting down one day with your grandchild on your lap or family around at Thanksgiving. You're just going to have stories. They're not going to go, hey, Grandpa, like John Shelton, they're going to, Grandpa, you make $31,000 a month for a bum ankle. They don't care about that. They want to hear your stories. They don't care about the money. At some point, the money doesn't matter anymore, right? Your bills are paid. They just want to hear your stories. What are going to be your stories? And these kids right now are 2 years on the job. They can't imagine having stories. And to your point, bringing kids on to have football, wrestling, team, I think it's great. The problem is those guys get on the job. There are those allies. They get on the job and they want to help people. They want to do intrusive police work. And then they find out, oh, wow, I'm doing intrusive police work. I'm out there helping people. And guess what? They start getting their careers tainted by the Civilian Complaint Review Board. And they're like, oh, man, I just wanted to go out there and help people. And then they can't do it anymore. That's the reality. Civilian Complaint Review Board stops those people from doing that.
Yeah, and then the other thing that they make mention to, and we've talked about this before as well, is like giving cops a career path. Like you believe that you could move up. Like you're not just stuck on patrol or stuck in transit or stuck in housing. Like you believe that there's a way for you to become a detective, become a supervisor, get to specialized units. Like allow people to have a career path through hard work, not through nepotism, which is still occurring under Jessica Tisch, by the way, So, and I know we've been going hard on Tisch these last couple of days because it's disgusting at this point. Like she had her chance. Now she's just a political hack. Like, I'm sorry. Like she's no better than anybody else. So it just has to be said and rotate people out. Like don't keep people on patrol their whole career. Like, unless they specifically want to stay there, there should be times like where Hood Mayor says retirement should be 10 years for the NYPD. I don't think so, but I think, I think when you're on the street for over 10 years, there's a problem. Like you're going to start to develop issues. Like I think people should be rotated in and out. There's no reason why you can't take a street cop, put him in admin for a year or two, and then move him back out, and then take that admin cop and move them out. Like there are guys that I came out with that were admin their whole career. I'm like, I'll never forget. I think I had like 7 years on, and I had done Juve every year and the West Indian every year, right? Every year I went, and I come out and I go with this kid one year, and he goes, we're driving in the van. He's like, I'm really nervous. I was like, what are you nervous about? He's like, I never did this before. I was like, what? I started I was like, how the F did I do this every year? Why am I here? I was like, this is the time of year that I want to be off because I want to be down the shore. Like, are you kidding me? You never did this? Like, and then like even worse than that, then when you start to really get into like people that never really did patrol, never did any of these details, you're like, wow, I must be a peasant on this job because like I had to do all this garbage, So I think, I agree with that when they talk about the rotation. They also talk about like making the recruitment more realistic. Like, don't make the guys think that like you're going to be in the James Earl Jones video. Like, not everybody's going to be an ASU guy rappelling down off the helicopter. Like one guy, this funny guy, he was on Midnights with me, Danny DeLoach. He used to say, I signed up. I thought I was going to be rappelling down the helicopter, and now here I am doing Midnights of the 1, 2, 3. The first, I'll never forget him saying that. I thought I was going to be heroes, always heroes. He's like, and here I am. So I was like, so funny.
I agree with you. To your sentiments, I've been saying that a long time. I don't think you should be in any command for more than 3-4 years, or in any assignment for more than 3-4 years either. That's what makes the Marine Corps so effective, is people are constantly moving. If you become a drill instructor in boot camp, they stay there for a maximum of 3 years, and they get rotated out and they go to another assignment. So it's constantly rotation. And I think the same thing should be in the NYPD. I do think it's honorable to ride a sector car for 25 years in the 4-4 precinct. You shouldn't be in that position. You should be in the 4-4 precinct for maybe 3 to 5 years, and then you should be rotated to a different precinct, a different assignment. And I think that also makes them also more effective, right? It's a beauty, right? That's why they say that people that travel, it expands their education and their knowledge, because they always have to get used to a new environment, and you have to learn something new. And that's also the same for police officers. If you're in the 4-4 precinct for 3 to 5 years, and now you go over, let's say, to a precinct in Queens, now you have to learn something new. So that keeps you fresh. Because when you do stay in one spot for too long, I do think you become stale. I do think that could hit your mental psyche. I think it's better for your mental health. I think it's better for someone physically to have change and embrace change. Change makes us grow. It's the same thing if you go to the gym and work out. And John, I know you love to lift weights. If you went in the gym to lift weights and you were lifting a weight that you didn't feel anything, you were always comfortable with it, you're not growing. I'm sure you always pick up weight where you feel pressure, you feel sore, because you want to grow. And it's the same thing in life, right? That translates. You want to grow, and you need to feel some change, and you need to feel that challenge.
Yeah, no, again, I think people need a career path. Like you need to, if you want people to be happy, they have to know that the situation they're in is temporary. Like, right? So I spoke to the kid the other day, right? And 10 years on the job. I spoke to him yesterday, actually. 10 years on the job. Oh, he's number 2 in vacation picks, by the way. Like, with only 10 years on. So like that shows you like there really are no more like senior guys doing patrol, right? Right? That would have never happened. 10 years on the job, you were like mid-level. Maybe you were like 4 or 5, not number 2, So 10 years on the job, why does he want to leave? Because he doesn't feel like he could do anything else. He doesn't feel like he could ever get to the squad. He doesn't feel like he could ever go to a specialized unit. He doesn't feel like there's any movement for him whatsoever. And he can't picture himself doing the next 10 years. So like that's what it is. So now if you even if people just thought it was possible, right? Maybe they never get there, but like it's possible that I could get transferred. It's possible that I could go to a unit. It's possible that I can make detective. I think that keeps people grounded, and I think it keeps them focused, and they could move. When they feel trapped, I think that's when people start to get like, I got to get the hell out of this situation. You know what I mean? I can't do this for this much longer. And so, but I think that's been a big problem too. Is like the taking care of people with 2 years on, a year on the job. It's gotten so extreme now. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry. Like that kid that was in DCPI with a year on the job. I mean, come on. Like, there's no way someone should be on the social media team with a year on the job. There's no way someone should be in the squad with 18 months on the job, and 6 months of them were in the academy. Like, it's just, I don't give a shit if his last name's Shea. I don't care if his last name's Kemper. I don't give a shit what his last name is. There is no way, even if this kid becomes the best cop in the world, it's going to take him 3, 4, 5 years before he gets his fucking feet wet. Like, you're not that person with 6 months on the job. I don't care who your daddy was. And like, that's what's happening So like the guys that actually just the regular people, what do you call them? The tier 3, like
General
what is it?
population.
General population, just the general population. They need to feel supported. They need to feel like they have promotional opportunities. They need to feel like they could move around. And I totally agree with that. And by the way, those are the people that are the backbone of the job, the general population. They're the ones that do all the work. They're the ones that make the wheels spin. They're the ones that do everything. It's not the kids. It's not the kids of chiefs. They traditionally suck. Traditionally, those guys are not good cops. Have there been some? Yes. Is it often? No.
And here's why. To me, when we talk about Dermot Shea's kid getting a promotion with 18 months on it, it's almost like he got a battlefield promotion, but he never went to battle. I mean, you have 18 months on the job. Even if you did great job, you're getting college, you're getting your experience. You haven't been to battle yet. You haven't grinded yet. It's not fair. There's cops that have been grinding for 5 to 10 years with just the same amount of skill. Maybe he's got more skill or maybe more of an education. Who knows? And he learned from his father. I don't know. It doesn't matter. You still have to go through battle. You got a battlefield promotion without going to battle. So it's completely off base. I don't agree with it at all. Some great comments here. Let me see. They're flying in here. Let me see if I can go back to it. Let me find here. These things are flying in. Okay, from Jack Stern. He says, Jack, how you doing, brother? He says, there's almost zero path to advancement in the NYPD, given that people have to depend on a civil service exam schedule. Now, I understand what you're saying, Jack, but unfortunately, it's not private industry. It is a unionized type of job where it depends on civil service exams. I don't think you can get rid of civil service exams. I think it alleviates a lot of nepotism. Unfortunately, yes, there is a time schedule with it, and people have to wait. And not necessarily do the best guys get the job because it's based on a test. But I do think it's an important thing to have a civil service exam, because without it, it would be just nepotism would be beyond our control.
No, yeah, it's an absolute insanity to think that you could get rid of civil service exams. If it wasn't for civil service exams, everything would be through nepotism. Literally everything. You know, I specifically remember being in the key class and listening to Jimmy Shea. And Jimmy Shea goes, listen, is taking the sergeant's test because you got 100 on it, does that mean you're going to be a good sergeant? He's like, no. Does that mean you're going to be a good leader? No. Does that mean you even know what you're doing? He's like, no. But what it does mean, it means you put the work in that was required to get to the next step. And without that test, the only way to get promoted is who kisses the boss's ass enough. He's like, this is why you need to take a civil service test. This is why you need to come to the key. This is why you need to study. And I remember sitting there and it was like, because I thought the same thing. I was like, well, what do you, like, why are these guys going to take a test and get promoted? Like, we have so many idiot sergeants. But then it's like, you know what? Well, I would never get promoted, right? Because I got a big mouth. People traditionally just see my face and don't like me. And I'm like, I'm never going to get promoted without this. He's like, oh, wow. I was like, wow, he's right. He's 100% right. This is how general population moves ahead. So I'm a big proponent of civil service exams. So, Jack.
You're just gonna give Jack the finger today. No, listen, I get it. You know, Jack is a youngster, and a lot of youngsters see that, and he's right. There is a point to that. I get what he's saying, right? There is a component to that where it's like, damn, what if the next test is not up for 5-6 years, and you're just really effective, and you should be in a position to get promoted? But unfortunately, it's just not a perfect system, and we have to find ways to alleviate and eliminate nepotism to the highest level. And this is one of those cases. It's unfortunate. Sometimes some of the best cops will never make it past the civil service exam because they just can't get it out of their head, because the way that you actually police is completely in opposition to what you read in the book and actually prepare for the test. But what it does measure is your ability to take this book and show that you're dedicated and motivated to the cause, that you want to move on, and you can show a level of dedication, motivation, and memory. There is some correlation to memory and intelligence. Does it give the whole ball of wax and show that you'll be a leader? Absolutely not. That's why I think the next step would be to get rid of this BMOC, the basic modular officer course, whatever it is. I think they need to just have some type of leadership training. I know I've been saying this. Ron's going to be, scratching at the board because he hates when I say this. I think with that experience, all you need is 3 days of actual leadership training. 3 days of 8 to 10 hours a piece of actual leadership training, and then put you in the position of sergeant would be far more effective than these seminars that they're getting right now. Maybe 3 days at a military installation or 3 days at a university of just leadership training, I think would be far more effective.
Yeah. So all right, unfortunately, the NYPD hasn't accepted my reinstatement request. Shocker. Sorry, Colleen. I thought we were gonna be like this, Colleen. So we received it, and so this is what's happening, right? So
You want to go to St. Morale?
So I put in writing and this email in reference to Mayor Adams' reinstatement order for New York City workers who refused the COVID-19 vaccine mandate. My name is John McCary, tax number 935-220. I was constructively terminated on February 24th, 2022, after arbitrarily and illegally being denied a religious accommodation. I am requesting to be reinstated as per Mayor Eric Adams' reinstatement order, right? So I gave that. A lot of other people gave that. So I sent that to Yonette Graham Ducal at NYPD.org and Colleen Fitzpatrick at NYPD.org. She says, Dear John, we received your inquiry regarding reinstatement. This program is only for employees who were terminated for non-compliance with vaccine mandate. Employees who retired are not eligible for this program. Thank you. So obviously, the NYPD in New York City doesn't understand the definition of constructively terminated, because if they looked it up, exactly what happened is what it is. So I just thought that was funny. So that's what's happening with those who did not take the termination. I'm going to speak to Marlon. I don't know what Marlon's doing. As far as I'm concerned, he doesn't. From last speaking to him, he's not willing to go back without being fully reinstated, without back pay and his time restored. And I can't say that I blame him, because it's absolutely disgraceful what's happening. And just real quick on it, I think that, the reinstatement date, first of all, they didn't even vote on it yet. So the rule didn't even pass. They're passing it on December 5th. They're going to vote on it. December 5th, the oral arguments for Kane versus de Blasio case, right? So I personally think that this was just a ploy for them to argue that the whole case is moot, because, we're reinstating people now, because this is the games that Eric Adams and New York City are playing. And the other thing is this: even if the rule passes, it goes over into Mondani's administration, right? Mondani still has not responded to any of my requests. He has not responded to any of the media's requests. Does he support this? Will he reinstate these people? He has not responded. He's responded to everything else. He's going to hang out with Eric Adams. Don't worry, Eric Adams is out today again. He's going to New Orleans to fight anti-Semitism again today. So he's not going to be in New York City for again. He's an anti-Semitism warrior, even though anti-Semitism, hate crimes have been up over 100% his entire administration. But he has time to do that. He has time to go to Daddy Trump's pocket. He's got time to do all that stuff, but he can't answer a simple question. Will you support the reinstatement? And the reason he isn't is because you already heard it months ago on the Finance Unfiltered. He doesn't support it because he wants the ability to do it to all of you again. And that's why I'm so angry with the people. I don't care where you stood in 2020. I don't care 2021, 2022. I don't care if you thought that I was dirty and I was disgusting and you wanted to throw me in jail. We're past that time now. Like, do you understand this is going to affect you? What happens with us is going to affect you. You're not going to have due process going forward. It's not just going to be for a vaccine. It's going to be for any damn thing they want. You're not going to be entitled to civil rights. You're not going to be entitled to your First Amendment. And the job could fire you without a department trial. The job could threaten you with termination without ever charging you with anything, because that's what happened. And the unions aren't saying a word. Where are they? They don't know. Haven't heard them. Haven't heard a word from anybody. So that's the thing where I think as city workers, we should all be standing together on. We should all be standing together on saying that Not only should the terminated people be reinstated, they should be reinstated with their time, with back pay, and with an apology, as well as the people that were forced out. I mean, it's not hard. We have money for everybody else in the city. We gave billions and billions and billions of dollars to illegals. We're still doing it today. Just stop those programs, give the money to the city workers, and let's go and let's move forward. Let's uphold the contracts and uphold the law that you supposedly follow, Michael Gerber.
I think KB in New York City's got the comment of the day. Only Mullen's case is mute. Because Mullen always hits the mute button. But no, you're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right. I mean, they want to make it sound like you retired on your own volition. Like, oh yeah, it's just normal for a lieutenant who's got a take-home car in a great spot to retire with 18 years on the job. That's normal. So it's absolutely ridiculous that they even consider your retirement a retirement under normal under normal case or whatever the case. That's ridiculous. But as far as Marlon, man, I stand with Marlon. I'm proud of him that he's been so strong through this. No one should have to go through what he went through, and anyone else like that being terminated within 7 days. Here you are. You gave your life and your career to this job, and you've invested so much into it. And in a week's time, you have to make a life decision. Absolutely insane. So Marlon's right, though. I think Marlon's right. He shouldn't go back unless he gets reinstated, compensated, and made whole and vindicated. But to your point, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. You did not retire under your own volition. That's absolutely ridiculous. What a joke. But no surprise.
I'm just gonna, and Tish, I'm gonna CC you too. I'm just gonna send you the definition of constructive termination, just so we're aware of it. Just so we know what we're dealing with here. But I think it's hysterical. Juju weighs in. He says definitely no reinstatement, no compensation. Juju, you gotta laugh at this kid, man. He's a genius.
What a loser.
He's a genius. He's the smartest guy in the New York City Police Department. He's the best looking. He's talented. He's an actor. He's a singer. He's everything. He does it all, except be a lieutenant, except be a sergeant, except be a cop.
How could he? He's watching this all day.
Yeah,
he's on the Fires Unfiltered network the entire day. How do you have time for police work? How do you have time when you're actually being a professor and you're teaching a class? Do you put the Fires Unfiltered on the background? Are you students watching it? What do you do?
How did he have time to write his books too? Like his books, like all this. He has all these great theories on police work, but he's never done them. It's like so weird.
I saw a great picture of him. He's very handsome.
He's a handsome guy. He's handsome. He looks frail though.
Juju, what sport teams do you like?
So I don't know. I'm still hoping Juju comes to one of the events. Juju, I'll be back in New York City in a couple of weeks. Let's meet up. Let's do coffee, bro. I'll take a signed copy of your book.
Oh yeah, I love to take it and step on
it. Yeah. KB says AI writes books these days. It's true. It really is true. It's true.
KB in New York City's got some good comments there. On fire, brother.
Yeah. So I mean, look, we've been going 2 hours. There's a lot of stuff that we missed. A lot of crime. We're being told crimes at historic lows, all this stuff. I kind of wanted to get into the FBI a little bit today, but I think it's just going to go too long. Did you see the whole thing that came out with Kash Patel? Like a bunch of FBI agents retired and active. They wrote a whole report. They said that basically him and Dan Bongino are cosplaying as leaders. They have no idea what they're doing. And they said like actually during the assassination of Kirk, they highlighted a point where Kash Patel wouldn't get off the plane. He wanted a FBI raid jacket, so he made them bring him an FBI raid jacket, and it was like a female medium. And then he was mad that it didn't have the patches, and I was like, oh my God, this sounds just like the police. This sounds just like Kaz Daughtry. It's like, it sounds just like remember all the cosplay, the Parks Department jackets, like what happened to Daughtry and all them? And I'm like, it's literally like the same thing, like the same idiots. Like you just took people that have no business being in charge of the New York City Police Department. You did the same thing. You did the same thing with the FBI. Same exact thing. Everything is optics. That's what they said. Everything's about social media and optics and nothing to do with with actually doing doing the job of the FBI. And they said that basically the FBI is like a rudderless ship. And that's kind of what happened with the NYPD and NYPD morale. It was like they had no idea what they're doing. They lost their mission. And just listen to this real quick. Just listen to him defend this right now. And by the way, Dan Bongino started to attack Miranda Devine. Miranda Devine authored the book, The Laptop from Hell. And so she broke that whole story. He had her on his show numerous times. Said she's a great reporter, the most trusted reporter, probably one of the biggest reporters of our time. Now he's calling her deep state divine. This is what Dan Bongino is saying. And so you see, it's the same thing when you've seen Shell and Kaz and all of them coming at us on social media. What do you see Kaz? Excuse me. What do you see Cash and Bongino doing? They're doing the same shit. They're going after people on social media. They don't look professional. Chris Wray, who was a loser and whose FBI was just as horrible as this one, he looked more professional because he just kept his mouth shut. You know, it's like, so listen to what he's got to say about this.
You mentioned the thing about the patches and the gossipy stuff, which I know you laughed it off on Twitter, but on X. But they're saying, oh, he refused to get off the plane in Utah after Charlie Kirk's assassination because he wanted a better fitting FBI raid jacket. Is that true? And does fashion really make the man, Cash?
It's 100% false. As you know, look, Laura, sadly, I was at 9/11 at Ground Zero in New York City on 9/11 because I was a White House representative honoring those victims and their names being read. You were very familiar with that. Then we made the immediate decision after Charlie got shot in the neck to fly to Utah unexpectedly to lead the manhunt to find the perpetrator in less than 33 hours because the FBI cut video, put it out in a press conference, and these people are worried about what I was wearing and what patches I was wearing. I was honoring my men and women at the FBI. One of my agents handed me a jacket and said, hey, boss, you should probably wear this. We're going into the command center. I said I'd be honored to wear that. And then another one handed me the SWAT team badge of the unit that was protecting the area where Charlie was assassinated. I wore that with pride. These people can talk about my appearances all they want, but look at the results. The FBI, this FBI, my FBI, the one that Dan and I are building here under President Trump, is succeeding in ways that no FBI has ever done so before. So the institutionalists and the anonymous reporters from the swamp DC bureaucracy are the ones we are crushing. And that's how I know we're winning. And if Eric Swalwell wants to come online and talk about what jacket size I wear, I'm happy to send him a women's medium so him and Fang Fang can go out again.
What do you think about that, Eric? Because like when I listen to him, I'm like, so you just admitted that that's exactly what happened. Like he just admitted that he took a woman's medium and then grabbed patches. That's exactly. I believe that story now. Like after I listened to him, I believe that story that he wouldn't get off the plane until he got his woman's medium because it was a tight fit with the patches on. And I saw him do pull-ups. By the way, not impressed. You know.
No, I believe it. I totally believe it. I think it's KB in New York City who says it here. Doesn't he have one in his plane? Like, don't you have a raid jacket with you? I'm sure you do. I believe just the fact that he even mentioned the story and put any mention to it tells me it was true. Because if it wasn't true, you would just laugh at it. You would never pay attention. You wouldn't even talk about it, right? It would just be just someone talk about a public figure. But the fact that he actually spoke about it, to me, 100%, that's exactly what happened. And he actually in detail said, he's going to get them a woman's medium. That's exactly what happened to him. And to me, it's like a mirror image what was happening with the NYPD, with the supposed dream team, with Kaz Daughtry and John Chell and other members of the leadership of the NYPD taking shots at the Finest Unfiltered because everything we were saying was spot on and accurate. It's the same thing with him. Isn't it funny how embroidery was important for the upper echelon of the NYPD, and embroidery is for them too? So we see when people are inept and inadequate, how their clothing makes the man, and the man doesn't make the rank.
And they're making history too. If you listen to what he said, like his FBI, it's like that's the best FBI ever, right? We still don't know anything about Epstein. We still don't know anything about the January 6th pipe bomber. We don't know anything about the Trump assassination, Thomas Crooks. We don't know anything about Vegas. We don't know anything about anything. You know, it's the same exact FBI, but somehow they're making history. Somehow it's better. And it's not about social media with them, and it's not about appearances with them. It's about the work. And that's why they're putting out videos like this, because this is the work. You ready for this one? Dude, does that remind you? Like that reminds me of Cass. Like the video really isn't about those guys training. It's not about the work of the FBI. It's about look at me in my camo jacket. Look at me in my
Yeah.
stupid camo hat. Look at me and my stupid sunglasses. Like, look how hard I look at 5'6", out of shape, 45 years old. Like, dude, like what? Like it like so I believe what those guys are saying. I do. You know, they're trying to pin it
100%.
all on Kyle Seraphin. He's saying he had nothing to do with it. I listen to him talk. I don't know if I believe that. but I think a lot of what they said in that report is true. And I don't
Oh,
think
absolutely.
Miranda Devine is messed up for reporting what they said.
What do you notice? That the more inept and more inadequate that someone is in a position, that they have to do more self-image and self-promotion. We saw it from Kaz Daughtry, and we see it from Kash Patel. That's exactly what that video was about. The videos and the YouTube content that Kaz Daughtry makes is not really about the fire department. He says, oh, the firemen are doing this. It's about him. And it's the same thing for Kash Patel. That wasn't about the FBI and the tricks and them running and gunning. It was about him. He's the star of the show. So inadequacy, ineptness, what we see is more videos and more content.
No, it's nuts. And what was the other thing? There was one more thing I wanted to show before we get out of here. A couple of things happened. Girl got beat up and outside of NYU, got her ass smacked. Guy apparently has been doing this to all women. They caught that guy. Somebody was set on fire in Times Square. They know who that is now. They have the video out on Crime Stoppers if you go out on there. So they're looking for that guy that lit another person on fire in Times Square. Shots fired yesterday in the middle of Times Square. Crazy stuff, man. And now they're saying, you know, all the reports, all right, don't blow it, Zoe, is the front cover of the New York Post today. Don't blow it, Zoe. We're at historic lows. I just think, you know, it's just more of the same. This is what the FBI is doing. This is what the NYPD is doing. They're just completely lying about what happened. New York City violent crime finally hitting all-time lows. So don't blow it, Zoe. And Frankie Pagliucci, I retweeted. I was like, this is a fictional story. It's not even true. Like, violent crime is not down. It's up. The entire Adams administration. It's up since 2019, even prior to him. And so Frankie Pagliucci said, oh, just wait. In a few months, they'll tell the real numbers. And I personally think that's what's going to happen, you know? Or maybe not. If Jessica Tisch stays on, maybe we're going to continue with this whole violent, crimes at historic lows. The FBI is the best it's ever been. You're living in the golden age of America. Don't worry about how much you're paying for goods.
Well, I actually think that's part of the reason why I'm keeping Jessica Tisch in that position, right? She's able to transition. And I said before, she's not a cop, so she doesn't have to transition the culture of the NYPD. But also, she's learned how to lie to the public about crime is down. And I think that Zohran Mamdani will want to keep the same narrative. While I do believe there could be less corruption in this administration, I do think that crime numbers are important. And in order for him to carry out this social worker experiment, this community-based apparatus of policing, he has to say crime is good. He can't say crime is so high right now, we're going to go to this social experiment. So I think that they'll have to continue on that plane and continue that narrative, which makes sense to keep Jessica Tisch in her spot. No doubt about it.
Yeah, and what's they called? Within their lifetime, you know, like that group, within their lifetime, they were responsible for a lot of the protests and a lot of the takeovers of critical infrastructure in New York City. They're actually coming out against Zohran Mamdani right now for keeping her. They're saying like this was a betrayal of his campaign promises. So, like I said originally, like you're going to see a lot more protests when he steps in, and it's, you know, and again, it's not like the police department's handling them correctly at this point. The protest settlement agreement is a direct result of that. People are saying it's not. It absolutely is. Cops are saying it's not. I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. Why do you think community affairs is there before anybody? Why do you think it's not properly staffed before anybody gets there? Why does it have to get out of hand before you're bringing SRG in? So there's that. And then this guy, workout guy, big guy, Minneapolis police chief, right? But, you know, again, he's an appointed chief. So muscles are good for nothing when you have no spine. Right? Listen to what he's got to say in Minneapolis when it comes to ICE and dealing with ICE.
Folks that are masked, that they're not sure if they're law enforcement, that they may be kidnapping people. Like, we have had those reports. I want to be clear to the community. The community should know that if you see something like that, that is legitimate, that you don't know if someone is law enforcement, you should call 911. And you should provide as much information as possible, because let's not forget, we very recently had tragedy in this state by someone who was purporting to be law enforcement. So please, let's be clear. That's something everyone should report, and that we will immediately respond to, and we will document, whether it's somebody's not sure if there's a kidnapping happening, somebody's not sure if that there's law enforcement present or not. And that's something else, that's additional policy requirements that we are implementing, that we will document and report these types of things anytime that we hear it, and reminding our officers of their duty to intervene. So if there is anything that is, a violation of someone's human rights or civil rights, excessive force or anything like that, they absolutely have a duty to intervene as police officers.
So what he just said is that if you see ICE, call 911. And if my guys get there and they think that ICE is violating someone's human right, they have a duty to intervene. So this was the same thing that Andrew Cuomo said on the debate stage. This guy is an absolute loser. There's a bunch of other things that he's done. So I don't give a shit. He's got muscles. He's got no balls. That guy should get out of here.
Dude, his muscles, to me, it's like going out to a restaurant, muscles and clams. This guy's more of a clam than anything. Absolutely ridiculous. That's why we said what's going on in New York City is so important, because it's going to spread to other blue cities throughout the country. So they're towing the same line, same narrative, putting the cops and ICE at opposition of each other. These are not polarizing organizations. These are both law enforcement agencies that are supposed to enforce criminal law. So this rhetoric that this guy is putting out is complete nonsense. He can take those muscles. To me, they're full of hot air. Means nothing. By the way, Pretty Boy Juju says crime is down. Yeah. Is that what you're telling your students at John Jay? Are you telling them that crime is down? Are you continuing that gaslight? Just a complete lie. Crime is not down, and you know it. But this is what we see going on in the U.S. and in this nation. Is we have leaders like this. This guy is the problem, not the mayor of Minneapolis or the mayor of New York City, who are left-leaning, which is a problem. But this is the problem. It's the leadership of the NYPD, leadership of this police force, leadership of law enforcement that makes the morale go down in the police department, because now you have cops in organizations say, wow, what do I do at ICE? Do I work with them? Do I arrest them? What do I do? You don't even know what your mission is, and you're supposed to look at them as fellow law enforcement operators and working in tandem and working hand to hand, working together, but instead they're putting you at odds at each other. That's insanity.
It's insane, dude. And then and just on New York too, they have 7,000 illegal aliens in custody, 7,000 criminal illegal aliens in custody, and they will not turn them over to ICE. New York City won't. So much for Eric Adams was going to save America with Trump, right? Same shit's happening. I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand how this isn't a violation of federal law. And I don't understand what Trump or Tom Homan's doing. I don't understand what Noam's doing. They talk a lot of shit when they're on Fox News, and there's zero backup with it. Because I'll tell you right now, I'd be locking up everybody. I'll tell you right now, this is federal violation law. You cannot read the U.S. code. Read U.S. Code 18. It tells you clear as day, you cannot harbor an illegal alien. So that doesn't mean that New York City passed their little law and they could circumvent federal law. Doesn't mean that. That person is a public safety threat. We're coming to pick them up. If you interfere with us, you will be arrested. You know? So by the way, our cowardly, ballless unions, presidents, they haven't said a word. They haven't instructed officers at all on how to deal with ICE. And you got chiefs like this saying that. You have political candidates like Zohran Mamdani and Andrew Cuomo saying that you need to intervene. Someone saying that's not what they said. That's exactly what they said. If you don't know how to read between the lines, I don't know what to tell you. That's exactly what he said. He said, call 911 when you're not sure who people are. If you see masked people, call 911. What is he saying? When you see ICE, call 911. And when my guys get there, if they see any human right violation, ask them what a human right violation is. He's going to tell you. He's going to tell you someone's here illegally and ICE is going to kidnap them. I'm sure he'll say, then his guys have a duty to intervene. He's a coward. Like, that was disgusting what he said. And here's Nick Shirley, I believe it was yesterday or the day before. This is Canal Street, bro. This is the Canal Street that Kaz has posted 8,000 times that he cleaned up. This is the Canal Street where there were multiple raids. Here it is. Here's Nick Shirley. And why are these people in the country? Looks like Mogadishu. Watch this.
I'm here on Canal Street, Canal and Broadway, and all of the counterfeit sellers, vendors, everything else, you name it, are back here on the block. You have streets completely filled. This street right here is filled. All the way over there is filled. Back around's filled. And all the way down here, full of counterfeit sellers. And then none of these sellers will want to show their face on camera. In fact, if they see you filming, they'll start filming you as well. This is what's happening. There was a raid that took place here on Canal Street just a few weeks ago, but now all of the vendors are back. And not only are they back, they're back by the tenfold. I'm here.
So yeah, crime's down, people. Crime's down. Everything's good. Everybody's getting deported, except nobody's getting deported, and that's how New York City looks like. Who's housing all of them? You are. Who's paying for their food? You are. And what are they doing? They're taking counterfeit goods. They're making cash money and keeping it on the table. All those contracts are still in place. They're still in place.
Just as Pretty Boy Juju. Pretty Boy Juju is telling his students that crime is down. What a lie. Crime. Look. Listen, I've been to Canal Street 1,000 times. We all have. You know, it's a good time to walk on Canal Street. But look at that. How just even the grates are completely covered with counterfeit goods. They have taken over. Look, it does. It looks like a third world country just selling bling on the streets. Absolutely all counterfeit goods. And that's why I say it's important to understand that ICE is a law enforcement agency. ICE, if they're out there doing raids for counterfeit products, you have to say that maybe that will lead to an investigation, or maybe the investigation already that they're figuring out some of this has ties to terrorism, because most counterfeit products do have ties to terrorism, especially there. So we're talking about law enforcement impeding fellow law enforcement. I don't care if it's federal law enforcement or local municipality. Law enforcement, the job of law enforcement is to maintain order and to protect this country domestically. And that's what ICE is doing, and that's what local law enforcement is doing. So to have weak leadership like that guy with the fake muscles full of hot air, which means nothing, that guy is just a weak, pandering, self-image, self-promoting leader that's putting their guys in a bad position. And that's where the internal pressures of a law enforcement agency break down, and we see the morale go to shit. Best example is the NYPD. That guy, he's every leader of the NYPD. He's Mike LaPetri, he's John Shelley, he's everyone, because they're doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, I retweeted. I said this is what kneeling while standing up looks like. That's that's what it is, And then Juju says states' rights. So Juju, if New York State or New York City passed a law saying that we don't have to pay federal taxes, are you saying we're exempted? So then if that's the case, why are we still paying taxes? Why are they passing laws to protect people that are here illegally? And we have resident of Queens who was terminated illegally, without due process, without a department trial, and we're doing nothing for him. Why? So states' rights matter, but federal immigration law outweighs that. Because why? It's we're keeping the sanctity of our nation. We're keeping our nation sovereign. It's a sovereign nation, Juju. I know you probably don't understand that, but that's what it is. I think I'm going to take Juju's class. Juju, I'm going to take your class. I'm going to waste $1,000, and I'm going to come take your class, because I want you to see me every day. And I think I'm even gonna stay there while the whole class, the duration of the class, just so you have to see me, answer my questions. Because you annoy me. So I think maybe I'm gonna come to your class and annoy you a little bit. Let all your students know what a pea brain you really are.
Yeah, I'm coming to Juju's class, and I'm bringing my RV right in front of your school, brother. And I know exactly where you are. I can't wait to sit in your class to see how smart you are. I'm so inspired by you. He's so intelligent, Juju. He knows everything. He writes books. He's a professor. He's a lieutenant. He doesn't even need to do the job. He's busy with the fines and filter. He doesn't even have to do police work.
Yeah. I'm gonna.
Listen, 2 hours, 2.5 hours into it, I think there's a lot of content we discovered.
Yeah.
What's that?
No, I will stream it. And look, he agrees with Jessica Tisch. Immigration is a civil matter. Immigration is a civil matter. So if you violate federal immigration law, the crimes, according to the U.S. code, that's not really a crime. It's civil. Nah, sorry, big guy. It's not civil. It's a crime. So
yeah, apparently he doesn't know the difference.
He definitely
like I said, probably doesn't know the difference. He didn't learn that when he became a lieutenant, or did he learn it as a professor? But maybe he could write bullshit in his books like he does. But that's all right. It's all good. Like I said, 2.5 hours into it. Thank you, everybody, for the engagement. We appreciate it. Let's get to the super chats and let's talk about coffee and donuts.
Yeah, Mon Samurai, we already read out. That was the seeing us losing every battle can't be good. Losing in court, losing in public opinion, losing in the eyes of politicians and community with the defund the police movement can't be good. Won't convince me otherwise. Rafael Martinez, shout out to you, brother. He says, John, it's the hype button. It's hype. It hypes your guys' content. Yeah. So if you're watching this later on, or even if it's available while you're live, I'm not sure. If you could do us that favor, just hit those likes, hit the subscribe, hit the hype. If you're already subscribed, we appreciate it. Really helps move us up in the algorithm, helps us continuing to bring free content and do this. So not cheap to do this, by the way, takes and the effort is a lot too. So, Fox, shout out to you. Sends a super sticker.
Coffee and donuts, baby. Thank you.
Frankie Paliucci says all psychological, drug, and background tests failed. He's talking about the NYPD will call you back. They'll call you back. Fail a drug test, they'll call you back. Hey, you want to become a cop? You fail a background check. Hey, you want to come back? We'll try this again. Hey, you failed the psychological. Hey, come back. We'll try this again. It's told you so back when. John is sitting like Donald Trump. Ha ha. How could you see how I'm sitting? I'm standing. No, I'm like 100 hours a month to who wants to do it. Solved. So he's saying make sure the people that want the overtime, give them the overtime. The people that don't. The problem is like the department's continuing to shrink, and as the department continues to shrink, the overtime is going to continue to rise because you're literally utilizing overtime to do regular routine functions at this point because you just don't have that many people. So jobs are, if they were really serious, if they were really trying to recruit people, you would have seen it already. They're not, and they're not trying to even stop the exodus. This is going to continue. This is defund the police through attrition. This is Eric Adams' plan continuing to unfold. Zohran Mamdani is going to continue to do it. He didn't say the same thing as Eric Adams, but by him saying that he was going to keep the levels the same, he's basically saying, I'm going to continue to defund you through attrition. That's what that is. And then Hassan, the original Mo, we got to change that name right off the bat, all right? He says, Friday, I got a special gift for you guys. This is just a preview, Mo and Eric. You guys will invite me on airtime show. Christmas came early, Mo. We'll invite you on. Just get the letter from DCPI that you're allowed to come do media, and we'll once you get that permission, send it over, and then we'll approve it on our and have your sergeant do a 49 too on why you should come on.
Hassan will be forever outcasted from the job. That's all right.
Yeah.
That's all right. Hassan, if we blow up enough, we'll give you a job. We'll get you some real cool embroidery. That's what we should start doing, John. We need some real embroidery. Compete with Kaz and Cash Patel. That's what we need. Some real embroidery. Juju, you got embroidery, Juju? What do you wear? What do you wear to school? What do you wear when you're teaching your classes?
KB says embroidery stocks are down 75%. I don't know, bro. I don't know, man. I don't know. It looks like Cash Patel likes his embroidery. So,
yeah.
I think you're going to see a lot of Middle Eastern guys with some highly embroidered shirts. I do.
I got to read this one because this is true. This comes from JB 1998. It says, John, I work at a command where 5 car break-ins at a completely different locations occur on the same night, get repacked from 561s into 161 by the crime analysis office. Been happening for a while. I heard that too from a couple of cops. I just didn't want to put it out there anonymously. And I do hear that's happening throughout the city, especially in the Bronx, where cops are responding to various incidents of stolen tires. I heard stolen calibrators, a couple of different
converters.
things. Yep, converters.
Vehicles are coming up missing now.
And they're packing all 161.
So they're saying it's a continuous event.
Yep.
It's complete lies. So
yep.
that's what that's the whole thing where they're saying that like crime is down. It's insanity. It's like crime's not down. Like you guys aren't taking reports for what you need to take reports for. And even with that, crime isn't down. Like they're literally telling you crime's down. And the crime numbers don't reflect that. And then on top of that, you like literally every time you open up the paper, you're seeing crimes that are misreported. Like and people would pay dearly for that in the past. Like if you got caught doing that in the past, it's not even it's just like getting brushed off. It's like, and I think the clearest example of it too is when Juju's buddy threatened our kids, that little faggot, and the job was like, well, what's the crime? I'm like, what do you mean? What the fuck is the crime? Like, what do you mean? It's aggravated harassment. It's threatening. It's a federal crime. It's felonies. It's all felonies. What do you mean? What's the crime?
You think Juju and Mohit are related? They might be. They might be related.
I think they spent some nights together. I don't think their wives know, but I think they cuddled up together. I think they both had
Brokeback Mountain. I think so.
I think they both had an orgasm in the same room. I definitely do. I definitely.
Well,
do. And there were no women there either. And there were no women there either. Because I know.
I see Juju's picture. He was quite handsome. That's what it is.
He looks a little.
His cute little shirt.
Not that I'm into. Not that I care. If you're gay, you're gay. It's fine. We have plenty of gay listeners on here. Just I have a problem when you just can't admit it to yourself. You put these poor women through stuff thinking like that that when really they just want to be with each other. They want to be with someone of their own sex, and then they hook these women in and they have kids with them and then they leave them. It's wrong. Just be yourself, Juju. Be yourself. So but even look at this. Like look at this. Reza Chowdhury puts this out. Great follow on X. I've mentioned him before. So he says the total for 7 major felony offenses year to date in 2025 is already higher than every full year from 2009 to 2021. So let's go, in 2009, it was 106,730. Total index crime are the felony crimes that the NYPD keeps track of. Now, does that encompass the shootings? No, it doesn't. It doesn't encompass a lot of things, but the felony crimes that the NYPD keeps track of, highly misrepresented numbers. So 2 big years in 2012 and in 2013, they were at 111,488, right? That was the highest number from 2009 to 2021, right? This year in 2025, we're at 111,878, and December's not over yet. So Reza put this out in response to Jessica Tisch's tweet where she says the NYPD continues to deliver record low crime in New York City. And so it's a complete joke, dude. And then NYPD News is doing the same thing. The numbers don't add up. Like, even with them telling you crime's down, the numbers show that crime's up. And then when you think about, well, all those numbers even proper? It's like, no, crime's through the roof, dude. It's like through the roof. If like Zohran Mamdani is going to fudge the numbers worse because he's going to have to. He's going to have to because he's going to look like a moron.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why he's going to keep Jessica Tisch there, because Jessica Tisch is already doing it right now. So you know what? Might as well keep her in place. Maybe he doesn't know if he can have a new commissioner, get on board and at least know how to do it. But clearly, she said it from the time that she started. She's data driven. She knows how to utilize data and she knows how to manipulate data. So who better to be in a position as police commissioner? Jessica Tisch, who knows how to manipulate data. So continue business as usual. There's no doubt you'll watch TV, you watch the news, that crime is being misrepresented in New York City. And if it's misrepresented, we're not getting the full picture of what's going on. We're getting a perception, and because perception is reality. We see what's going on. And I've said it clearly, and I've said it many times, that Times Square and Central Park are indicators of what's going on in the city. And you see that Times Square is out of control, shooting after shooting. That tells you that New York City is in a bad state.
Yeah, no, it's terrible, man. It's absolutely terrible. All right, yeah. Listen, I think we're good. Like I said, I think there was a lot of stuff we missed today. We're gonna try to shorten these episodes, not go this long going forward. We're gonna work on some other stuff, putting out a little bit more content. We'll let you know when Ken's gonna come on tonight. Executive Perspective. I'm gonna get it right. Guys. I'm gonna do it. Hold on, let me think about it. No, 17:05 Eastern Time. Executive Perspective. Rob Lukash, Ron Layson. That's 5:05 p.m. Eastern Time, right? I got it good. Don't expect me to do this again on Friday. So they'll be on. They're going to be talking about they're going to be talking about NYPD IAB's Group 1 fishing expedition when it comes to the debacle that occurred in front of the synagogue. So they're going to be talking about that. So Group 1, make sure you tune in. If you guys could do us a favor, like, share, subscribe, hit the hype button as well. We appreciate it. You know, Jessica Tish, that goes for you. If you could, you know, boost us up in the algorithm, give us a call. We appreciate it. You know, yeah. So
John,
check them out.
I'd like to give a special thanks to Group 1 for the investigation they did in regard to our kids being threatened. Really impressive investigation, and determined that our case was right. We haven't got any information on. So if Group 1 at this time, since you will be watching the Finest Unfiltered, you're going to be watching the Executive Perspective. If you have a chance, if you could just give John and I some details about your investigation, we appreciate it. We're still waiting on our foils. Take us some time.
Oh, I'm supposed to get it this month.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to get it this month, actually. I'm supposed to get that foil this month. Right when the statute of limitations. I'm sure that had nothing to do with it. You know? So yeah, we'll do that. Shell, listen, Shell, if you're listening, look, dude, you're invited on. Listen, it's obvious you want to be part of the Finest Unfiltered. If you want to come on and have a chat, we're respectful. We don't beat anybody up, but we're going to ask the questions, and that's it. You know, I think Jay Ramming's Ramirez, right? Is that Joel?
Yeah.
I can't tell with these names. I don't know who anybody is anymore. He says, John, are you going to make it public? Oh, 100% I'm going to make it public. I'm going to make, you know, like when I do those long X posts where they're like a million different posts, it's going to be one of those. Like 100%. It's going to be a huge long thread. That whole thing is going to be, but I'll guarantee you this. They're either going to stall it. I'm either going to get a notification that it was stalled, or I'm going to get like a half-assed, highly redacted thing. Because, you know, they got a big problem with that investigation. Not that anybody's going to look into it. Not that DOI gives a shit. Not that IAB cares. Not that the police commissioner cares. You know, she's perfectly happy with running a completely inept and incompetent and corrupt department. So, I mean, I don't know what comes of it, but it's going to look bad. I mean, people are going to look at it and laugh, be like, what the hell is this? Yeah, so 100% going to make it public. Why not? Why not? We got nothing to hide. We got nothing to hide, but the NYPD has everything to hide.
Joel, my brother, we're going to put out every detail by detail, and maybe we'll put out the actual detail of the allegations we allege and show you the correspondence of what the Internal Affairs actually did, which is pretty much what we expected, which is pretty much nothing. And then the low-hanging fruits are the ones that faced any discipline in this investigation. Now, the real predators in this case just completely escaped. So, John Shell, I'm just curious, what do you think about this investigation? And with that being said, I'm just curious, what does John Shell have a problem with trailer parks? Does he have bad memories of trailer parks when he was a kid? I think he's got bad memories because he keeps mentioning on Twitter about me living in a trailer park. I think he's got some bad childhood memories. I don't know what happened there. So I'm curious, what is wrong with a trailer park? What do you have to say about a trailer park? It's okay. You can keep out the racial slurs, but I'm curious what he thinks about it.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't know, dude. I just think, I think it's crazy. Like he's literally vying for attention everywhere. He gets no traction anywhere. The only time he gets traction on social media is when he comes at us, because we'll go back at him, right? And like, you know, the bottom line is this: you had a big problem with us for 2 years. Put your nuts on the table. Come on the podcast. Like, what's the big deal? Like, you know, what are we? The evil? Like, you know, you can't sit down. You could tell me how my career was garbage, how Eric's career was garbage. You know, Sal was doing security, like, oh, you know, whatever the hell you want. Like, you're invited.
Tell us about the arena we weren't in, and the arena he was in. I want to know about the arena.
Yeah, the arena we were in, what you needed a good ankle for, you know. So it was like he wouldn't have lasted. So, but seriously, like at the end of the day, like, he clearly wants to be part of the Finest Unfiltered. I mean, like, dude, his background is almost like a mirror image of mine. It's like, I'm surprised he didn't shave his head. He's growing a goatee now. It's like, dude, wait, you know.
He told me I think I'm cool because I have a beard, but now he wants a beard all of a sudden. So join the club, John Shell. Join the club, brother. You know, don't worry, and tell us what you like. We'll send you over a bottle. I'd be more than happy to have him on here. We'll have a candid conversation. I don't know if he can handle it. I think he'll get a little excited, a little red in the face, but we'll keep him calm. We'll keep him on. Sleepy Joe says, does he drink mushroom coffee too? I don't know what he drinks, but I can tell you what, it's far from mushrooms.
Yeah, I don't know, but Marlon made some funny shit. I think
it's great.
once we hit the 60,000, I think we're gonna celebrate with that video. It's like Marlon made some funny shit about him tweeting.
Oh, it's great. Can't wait.
We'll save it, we'll save it. So yeah. So I'm looking forward to tonight. That should be a good show. Listening to hear the debacle that is Group 1. But yeah, I think that's it. Look, we could beat up New York City crime numbers and the NYPD all day, but at the end of the day, state of morale is very obvious. It's at the lowest it's ever been in history, and I think going forward, the NYPD is going to continue to have a really big problem recruiting and a really big problem retaining. And even if they get the recruiting levels up to where they need to be, they're not going to be filling it with qualified, competent candidates. And you see it every day on New York City streets, and that's actually making the system even worse. So yeah, I don't see anything. I don't see anything good coming down the future. And all of what I see around Zohran Mamdani just looks like more incompetence and more nepotism.
Well, I would say the same way that we explained it, at the beginning of the episode is the same way that we close it, right? What is morale? It's the way people feel in an organization. Do they feel valued? How do they feel? What is impacting how they feel? And ultimately, I think the most important thing is what we said is, are they confident in their leadership? And if they're confident in their leadership, that's where morale gets strong and these other factors won't penetrate. But they're not confident in their leadership. In the leadership that John put up earlier, showing the guy with the muscles, but without the mouth to actually support his people, he's the same leadership in the NYPD. It's his failures, and it's the failures of NYPD leadership that caused the failure and the breakdown of morale. That's the problem with the NYPD. It's not the external pressures. It's the internal pressures of the NYPD. So stay with us at the Finest Unfiltered. Don't forget Ron and Rob tonight. They've always put on an awesome show, Executive Perspective. John said, John knows the time, 17:05 or 5:05 Eastern Time live. Listen, I got to keep up with the times. I'm not even on Eastern Time, and I know it. So I don't know what's your excuse. And then, of course, Thursday, Sal will be back on. If you haven't watched yet, please tune into 10-4 Tavern, which is on Tuesday nights. I think Tom and Pete do a hell of a job. Last night, it was Tom Joyce and former Chief Mike Marino. They had a great interview. So keep up with that show, please. And, of course, Friday, we'll be back for the roundtable. Thank you, everyone, as always. 2 hours and 46 minutes into it. We were talking about shortening the show today. I don't know. It's kind of tough. We're going to do it, but we'll get to it.
Yeah. So, all right, peoples. Finest Unfiltered. We'll be back at you. See you at 17:05.
There's a handful of retired officers that don't live in the state that have a lot to say about the dream team, as I like to call it. All of a sudden, they retire and have a master plan on how to fight crime, but nothing to contribute when they were here. They want to come back and be part of the dream team. What can I say?